Com sal, rega a mesa do pão é constantemente incrível. De manhã à noite nunca passa o apetite, é insaciável. É verdade, engole tortas, bolos, pizzas, massas, batatas fritas e toneladas de arroz. Ele não deixa nada no prato, ele é um verdadeiro ogro sem dúvida. A família dele está preocupada, mas ele não quer saber. Para ele comer é um verdadeiro prazer. Ele só pensa nisso de manhã à noite e ele não consegue parar, mesmo que seu estômago doa. Engole tortas, bolos, pizzas, massas, batatas fritas e toneladas de arroz. Ele não deixa nada no prato, ele é um verdadeiro ogro sem dúvida. Um dia ele vai ao médico porque não se sente bem. O médico diz que ele precisa mudar seus hábitos alimentares. Caso contrário, ele terá sérios problemas de saúde. Engole tortas, bolos, pizzas, massas, batatas fritas e toneladas de arroz. Ele não deixa nada no prato, ele é um verdadeiro ogro sem dúvida. A família dele está preocupada, mas ele não quer saber. Para ele comer é um verdadeiro prazer. Ele só pensa nisso de manhã à noite e ele não consegue parar, mesmo que seu estômago doa. Ele engole e vai ao médico porque não se sente bem. O médico diz que ele precisa mudar seus hábitos alimentares. Caso contrário, ele terá sérios problemas de saúde. Gonçalo decide seguir o conselho do médico. Ele começa a comer alimentos saudáveis e balanceados. Ele se sente muito melhor, está mais feliz do que nunca. Ele finalmente entendeu que precisava mudar seus hábitos. Batatas fritas e toneladas de arroz. Ele não deixa nada no prato, ele é um verdadeiro ogro sem dúvida. Um dia ele vai ao médico porque não se sente bem. O médico diz que ele precisa mudar seus hábitos alimentares. Caso contrário, ele terá sérios problemas de saúde. Gonçalo decide seguir o conselho do médico. Ele começa a comer alimentos saudáveis e balanceados. Ele se sente muito melhor e está mais feliz do que nunca. Ele finalmente entendeu que precisava mudar seus hábitos. Gonçalo, rega a mesa do pão é constantemente incrível. De manhã à noite nunca passa o apetite, é insaciável. É verdade, engole tortas, bolos, pizzas, massas, batatas fritas e toneladas de arroz. Ele não deixa nada no prato, ele é um verdadeiro ogro sem dúvida. A família dele está preocupada, mas ele não quer saber. Para ele comer é um verdadeiro prazer. Ele só pensa nisso de manhã à noite e ele não consegue parar, mesmo que seu estômago doa. Engole tortas, bolos, pizzas, massas, batatas fritas e toneladas de arroz. Ele não deixa nada no prato, ele é um verdadeiro ogro sem dúvida. Um dia ele vai ao médico porque não se sente bem.
Hi guys, welcome back to another live stream. I hope you all had an amazing day. So today we're gonna be talking about the harsh truth like we always do here every start of the week. As I said before on every single live stream, when it comes to the harsh truth streams, we talk right now. We're gonna do a little update when it comes to the war. So as I said, we're gonna rely on, we all know, to Riyadh and my own gains. So as I said before, don't forget to subscribe to Riyadh and also my own gains. Very good people that know what they're saying. They know how to connect the dots, and they speak the truth and nothing but the truth. They show you the fucking proof and everything. So don't forget to subscribe to their channel. We're gonna check out the oil price, how it has changed this past week, and we're gonna end with feminism, like we always do, like women abusing the power that they have to the point where the authorities have to be part of it. So yeah, we're gonna see two cases pretty much. We're gonna end up with feminism at the end there. But yeah, on to the stream. Don't forget also to follow me on Kick. We're trying to reach 800 followers. Not only that, we're trying to get verified here on Kick. So don't forget to participate on the stream, on the chat, drop a sub, or just watch the stream in general. It's already a good participation. We do stream at the same time on YouTube, so don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We're trying to reach 100 subs. We're currently at 87 subscribers, so don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Go check out the additional content I give to you guys on other social media. So don't forget to enjoy all the content and follow me everywhere. And big thank you for your good for the affiliation. I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So here's Ria channel. Don't forget to subscribe and go find out the truth, because the truth is eternal. But let's go. Let's go for the little updates when it comes to the war.
I think he's now realized, and this was expected, right? Look.
Oh yeah, beforehand, I'm gonna do this preemptively. Jesus Christ, that was some very hard English. And I'm just gonna do this. You know, I'm gonna change the camera and shit. So since we're gonna see Myron, or maybe they're gonna change their camera view of the scene, I'm gonna be at the bottom left here. So at least if they change camera, I'm not literally in front of their faces. So let's go.
Let's go back to the beginning. I'm not actually going to go through everything in detail, but just really back to the beginning. Don't worry, it's not going to be a full story time. Remember, this was supposed to be a few days, okay? And let us never forget, the President of the United States said that this conflict would be a few days. It is now day 64 of the conflict.
2 months.
It's been 3 months.
Oh yeah, 3 months now. Yeah, sorry.
To the credit of the United States, the military, and Donald Trump,
we are in the third one.
Hegseth, so and Operation Epic Fury, I suppose. I want to be gracious here, so I'll always give credit where it's due.
Holy shit.
Thank you for the follow, but wait, hey. They always do this, bro. It's like, fam. Thank you. Let's keep going.
I suppose they militarily
appreciate the follow,
Iran. No problem there. I wouldn't have a problem conceding to that, and I don't think that anybody who's been paying attention to the conflict thus far would disagree. However, as we know, oil is through the roof. And that is because Iran controlled that small passageway called the Strait of Hormuz, where 20% of the world's global oil passes through. Asia, Indochina, depends on that oil desperately. And right now they are facing actually an energy crisis, okay, as well as Europe. And so the United States doesn't really feel the oil shortage, but we do feel that price shock and the price spike. And as many of you know, I see everybody always putting their gas prices in the chat. Gas has now reached an average of $4.40, $4.30. It's kind of hovering around that ballpark. And, you know, I think that the pressure has now grown to the point where the president has to make a decision. And it wasn't like this previously, because what could Donald Trump do? He would go on Truth Social and he would say, Iran is actually giving us a good set of stipulations for a peace plan. So prepare for this war to be over. 2 more days tops. Looks like we're going to have a ceasefire soon. And at the same time, he would also be saying they're begging to talk. And so we are going to cease all military operations indefinitely or until further notice. And so he was kind of able to manipulate the stock market, NASDAQ, S&P 500, and of course, the oil market to some degree
Not always.
with his words. That is the power of the most powerful person on the planet, that being the president of the United States. When he says something in the midst of a conflict, it can affect global oil prices. However, I think that he's kind of exhausted his ability to do that. He's forfeited his ability to really exercise that. And the reason why is because he's actually starting to take action. He's reviewing the 14-point proposal from Iran. He's reviewing their plans. He's hearing them out. And he's offering his own military aid, or offering his own military blockade in the Strait of Hormuz to try and cope with this. The problem is, and I'm going back a little bit here because this started about 2 weeks ago, but the problem is, in doing that, he's making things worse.
Yeah, I was about to
because
say.
that temporary relief does not account for the long-term issue that these lies create. How do we know that? Because Donald Trump says they're begging for a ceasefire,
Which
everything is going according to plan, but then he blocks their blockade, which again further constricts the global oil market. So it is a silver bullet. It's really not doing much. And of course, this is the this is really the strategy of Donald Trump, and it always has been, this posturing, this brinksmanship. But when you're in war, it doesn't work. And we've been at war with Iran. We've killed 3,000 plus people, and we've killed their leader,
Sure.
that being Ayatollah Khomeini. And now his more extreme son has succeeded him, as well as several other high-ranking military officials. And so now Donald Trump has kind of forfeited that ability to just exercise brinksmanship, or rather deterrence. And even the ability of escalation is something that we've lost. So we blocked their blockade, or we blocked their ports, which are responsible for them exporting and importing goods, oil, things that are vital for their economy to really strive or sustain itself. And in the act of doing that, things got worse on an economic scale. And so that's why I said a stream ago or 2 streams ago, I can't remember, but if you were watching previously, this has now graduated to an economic conflict versus really a kinetic one. And that's actually more detrimental for you and I, because we're Americans at home, we're buying goods, we're pumping gas, things like that.
It's not just that, it's pretty much everyone in the world at this point. Even we are suffering now here in Europe. Things are very more expensive. That's for sure.
Commute to work, you're probably really feeling it. You're probably spending hundreds of dollars every couple weeks, if that, depending on what you drive and all that. And so,
pretty much,
you know, obviously that makes its way to the Oval Office. And what does Donald Trump say when the press asks him about this? He goes, and his answer to this question has been the same historically, so it's never really changed. But ever since the beginning of this conflict, he says, well, Americans need to stop being so selfish and appreciate the fact that Iran no longer can attain a nuke. And that's what Pete Hegseth said.
What the audacity, bro. The fucking audacity. The audacity, bro. They had the audacity to say that Americans are selfish, bro. Holy shit. Wow. What the fuck? What the fuck?
Said during the Action Committee hearing as well, when he was being pressed, and it was filmed and it was live, and he was responding to all of those same questions, similar rhetoric. How do you feel about choking the economy and making American people suffer? Pete Hegseth, in response, he says, well, Iran no longer can have a nuke, and we're destroying their ability to have a nuke. So what's worse, high gas prices or a nuclear war? And again, this is the pretext of the war. And so this is very important for them to push this idea. They have to make it seem like there's this nuclear threat that is imminent, because if they don't make it seem that way, well, then it's not long until a lot of the US base absolutely condemns and goes against this war, which has actually become the case now. And this article out of The Guardian, and I know it's The Guardian, but this is true.
But that is the audacity, bro. The fucking audacity. Saying that the American people are selfish, and bro, you should be happy that the oil prices are going up instead of getting hit by a nuke. Holy fucking shit. It's fucking the audacity, bro. That's all I'm saying.
Young Americans have soured on Trump. So right here it says so many 18 to 29-year-olds have soured on Trump. His approval rating with that group has sunk from 48% in January 2025 to just between 25 and 33% in
That's
recent months, according to polls by YouGov and The Economist.
5% is pretty much gone.
It shouldn't be a surprise that millions of young Americans have turned against Trump, considering that he has failed to deliver on so many promises, most notably his vow to reduce prices on day one. For young people, inflation is the #1 economic issue, far outpacing other issues, and that very much wanted Trump to focus on affordability. So, increased gas prices, war in Iran, $400 million ballroom. 78% of Americans under age 30 disapprove of how Donald Trump is handling inflation. And so that's what I'm saying here. We've got a balloon that is become inflated with so much air, and it's just any moment now until that balloon actually pops, and that's Donald Trump and his decision-making ability. So I think we're going to see with this statement from U.S. Central Command, Operation Freedom, where we're going to get involved in the Strait of Hormuz, this is where things can either diffuse, which is less likely. However, it's possible, and I won't negate that nor take it off the table.
That is
or
so stupid.
What I think is a little bit more likely, and this is just me paying attention to the history, Iran is going to strike. However, this might be a part of the whole plan. I do think that Iran striking the United States in this Operation Freedom is actually a part of Donald Trump's greater plan to get back into a kinetic war with Iran. See, I think he wants to strike Iran. He just has not he has not had a good enough reason to do it yet. However, this might give him all the reason. Maybe this is a part of the strategy. You know, we increase our presence in the region. We guide these vessels. And obviously, if you haven't been paying attention, Iran is weaponizing the Strait of Hormuz by blocking it so that they can make money, right? They're controlling the maritime. They can make money on these ships, and they can make it painful for the United States to continue this conflict with them. And so if we get involved in the strait and guide these oil vessels out with a military presence, with guided missiles and all these other things, I'm going to read the statement in a moment, well then, that's us taking away their biggest weapon. And what would they likely do in response to that? Potentially strike a U.S. vessel, which, by the way, in the last week...
Oh, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, it makes sense. Why would you do an operation like that? So we go away from the economic point of view and go towards... Okay, I mean it makes sense. That is true. That is one of the only things that actually makes sense when it comes to that operation. Because why would you send... Like, it just makes no sense. But okay. I mean, it's a theory. It's not... I do not confirm. Who can confirm at this point? No one can confirm that shit, but... It just makes sense. That's all I can say. Is it makes sense that that's the strategy, trying to get away from an economic war and going towards a kinetic one. It makes sense, but at the same time, I have like that doubt that it makes no sense as well. I say that because Iran understands, right? They prepare themselves for this, so I'm like, I don't think they're gonna fall for it. I mean, I have that doubt, but hey, we never know.
The supreme leader, Mujtaba Khamenei, the son of the former one who was killed by the United States, has voiced he wants to sink a U.S. vessel to the bottom of the ocean floor, and if there's more military presence in the Persian Gulf, he will do that. That's what he said in an official statement. As well as the national security chairman saying that if there's any U.S. military presence guiding these ships through the Strait of Hormuz, then we will strike them. So what did we gain in this war? A good question. Thanks for the super chat. Nothing.
Nothing, yeah, pretty much.
Pay attention, and I've said this previously, but I suppose I'll say it again because it responds to your super chat. And this is really the statement that you give to somebody who tries to push the rhetoric that this war has been beneficial for the United States. Remember our goals when this started. Our goals were no more nuclear program, which is still something we're fighting for, I'll admit. However, we have not really effectuated any ground in covering that matter, but no more nuclear weapons, no more enrichment of uranium, or no ability to actually reach a nuclear weapon, which is done by or via the enrichment of uranium, getting to 90%, they're at 60. No more ballistic missiles. We might change the leadership. The people are going to take back the country.
So they want to destroy the whole country, pretty much. They want them to have no defense one day if they go to war to defend themselves. Have a shitty government, so they don't know what to do. Like, they really want the country to be like have nothing.
And now our bold claims and goals have regressed or receded to just wanting the Strait of Hormuz to be open.
Love Roblox? Earn Roblox
No, we
digital
don't.
gift cards
Like,
with
it's
Microsoft
dog shit game.
Rewards.
I'm sorry, let's be honest.
And so when someone says, oh, but this war's been good, oh, but this and that, you really start to understand that we've gained nothing, but we've also humiliated ourselves on the global stage, because now all we need is ships to pass through that Strait of Hormuz, which I don't think Central Command or Pete Hegseth really anticipated Iran would weaponize. I think if they anticipated that, they would have had a military presence there prior. And of course, we were exercising brinksmanship. We had so many amphibious assault vessels in the region before we started the war in February, but it seems like that caught us by surprise. And this is what I say when I'm talking about the intellectual laziness of this administration. However, maybe just Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth, I'm sure the Joint Chiefs of Staff and everybody else in between is telling Donald Trump, and by the way, we had official statements that intelligence warned him, if you start this war, it will be an economic disaster and it will be a war of attrition. Obviously, they did not.
Who would have guessed that their own intelligence, secret intelligence, told them not to go to war? But guess which intelligence they decide to listen to? Israeli intelligence. And look where they are now. It's pretty funny when instead of listening to your own fucking intelligence, you decide to listen to Israeli intelligence, secret intelligence. Nice.
Listen. So yeah, we've gained nothing in this war. We've gained nothing, and we lost quite a lot. Do you want to know what we lost? We lost our ability to flex our power in the Middle East. Why? Yep. 13 or 14 U.S. military bases were destroyed as a result of our initial attack with Israel on February 28th. The biggest one being Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar. That's the biggest U.S. military base in the region. They hit the power plant there. Now, whether it's operational or not, I understand that there's still some things going on there, and so that's fine. But symbolically, do you understand how that looks? The United States is this grand power. No country comes close to us in military spending. We have more amphibious assault vessels than the next three most powerful countries combined. I get it.
And they got shit on.
If we don't have the ability to deter a country and we actually have to strike them, and after 40 days of strikes, 20 more days of talks, we haven't gained any of our goals, do we look like the strongest country in the world anymore? The answer is maybe not. The answer is maybe not.
Fucking nope.
Of course. But it's all about the perception. And the perception is the biggest point of leverage that we've had over the world historically, right? After World War II and 1945 with the nukes, obviously the United States was unanimously the strongest country in the world, and no one dared to threaten our power, our sovereignty. We had issues with the Soviet Union. That all collapsed in the 90s. And so really the United States has stood alone at the #1 spot. But China is closing that gap rapidly, more than they were in the last 50 years. Just in the last 10 years, they've gained a lot of progress. Russia as well, by the way, in the midst of this conflict, is making tons of money because we had to temporarily release sanctions on them to relieve the global oil market. And so the biggest thing outside of those two issues is that we've just lost our ability to deter. And by the way, the United States gains so much benefit from the petrodollar, and all of these Middle Eastern countries like the UAE that just left OPEC, by the way, so now they're a lone wolf exporting their oil. They don't have any regulations to follow, so who knows what they'll do with that. Maybe Saudi Arabia will follow, but the UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, all of these countries have worked with the United States in tandem to ensure that we remain powerful, and we offer them, of course, economic support, but really, and the biggest thing is military support. Our military bases did nothing except put big targets on their back, in which Iran shot at, and they hit bullseye every single time. For the first 7 days after February 28th, when we attacked and killed the supreme leader, it was like a dead man switch. Every single country in the region got hailed on with missiles and drones and strikes. And so now Donald Trump understands that if he attacks Iran, the Gulf countries are on the receiving end.
Yeah, they get the punishment.
And that's what it's going to be every single time. And of course, I understand that's unfortunate. I don't have any vendetta against the Gulf countries, but you've got to look at things from Iran's perspective. They can't strike the United States directly. They don't have intercontinental missiles, thank God.
True.
And I don't think they would even try to, even if they had or possessed such a capability, because it would ensure they'd be nuked in the next 48 hours. But the only way they can really deal a blow back to the United States is by hitting their allies and making their allies hate them for it. And so in that first week or 2 weeks of the war, what happened?
They bombarded
the airspace in
the whole
Israel
Middle East
seems to be
almost.
over-prioritized. and defense over the Gulf countries. A spokesperson from Saudi Arabia actually said this in a statement. He said, "It seems like the United States is offering very little support for its Arab allies and everything they absolutely have for their Israeli allies." And of course, that would cause a grievance for these Arab nations that don't even really like Israel that much aside from the UAE, but just have to do diplomacy with them on the basis that they share some sort of relationship with the United States and security. And so they're kind of cucked. And whilst they're cucked, they are simultaneously not receiving the support that they rightfully deserve because they pay for it. Because we make so much money off of them and their oil. We work together. And of course, Qatar invests in the United States. They gave us billions of dollars in the beginning of the year, giving Donald Trump a plane and all this crazy stuff. And what do we give in return? No airspace, no sort of interceptor missile program. Bro. And if we do, it's running thin. And it's attritional because these interceptor missiles that we use to defend the airspace of these Gulf nations are significantly more expensive than these really cheap drones that Iran makes in-house. Even some of their missiles are inexpensive compared to our Patriot interceptor missiles or our David system. So it's really just a matter of an asymmetric war. And, you know, I know you asked me, what have we gained in this war? But I got to go deep because not only have we not gained anything, but we've lost so much. And I think the biggest thing that we've lost...
Honestly, that's true. It's not really at this point, it's not really anymore about how much they didn't win, is how much they've lost. They've lost so much to the point where, like, they're not even... people are gonna have that perception where America's not gonna be this as powerful as people gonna think now.
I don't see many people talking about
how's the war is going
our
right
Middle
now.
Eastern ally. And after this all blows over, which hopefully it does in the next few months, because there's a good chance this can last for a good deal of time, but let's hope that it ends, right? It diffuses. Well then, where do these Gulf nations look for support next? Maybe on paper, they'll still work with the United States, but
China
are they
and
really
Russia
going
probably.
to trust the United States or give it the benefit of the doubt anymore after...
after they've gotten hit so many times, because they have military bases, American military bases in their countries, so they become a big target. Not only that, they don't have any fucking support coming from America, and on top of that, they're supporting Israel, which is a country that they don't respect. On top of everything, so like, there's no way they're gonna accept America again. I don't think so. I think now they're gonna go towards the Russians and Chinese.
Being hailed on with missiles.
Probably.
Don't forget, in the last 60 days, Kuwait has not been able to export any oil. Not a drop. Excuse me, not a drop. So really, this is a concerning matter where the United States actually poses a hazard. We pose as a liability. And not only that, but what we struck the hell out of Tehran and every other province in Iran for 40 days, and they still have a capable military that's waiting for us on the ground. You got to think about how these things look globally. So hot in here, excuse me. All right, Boofus Barney says, Riyadh, currently gas right now in Illinois is $5. Yeah, man, it's crazy. Gas is $5 for me as well, but I pump premium, so I think regular unleaded is like $4.30 or something like that. I'll be honest, I don't look at gas prices. And that's not because I'm rich at all. I'm not rich. I'm actually a brokey, but I don't look at gas prices because what are you going to do, nigga? Not pump gas?
Yeah, true. Like, true. That is so true. Even if the gas goes up, the thing is, you're still gonna pump gas because you need it. So it doesn't really matter at this point if it's super expensive or not. Like, you're still gonna need it.
I cannot stand when I'm in the car with a friend.
True.
And
es-tu le ou la candidate idéale pour rejoindre les Master of Science Albert School et Mine Paris PSL?
We don't care.
He's like gas shopping. He sees the gas price on the sign, you know, all the way up in the air, and it's like $4.40. We're at war with Iran, nigga. Like, you're not getting cheap gas. Like,
yeah,
do you really think you won because you saved $5 on gas? Like, you gotta kind of get a little bit more honest with yourself. So, you know, I don't gas shop. I don't even look at the gas price because I don't even want to pain myself. It's high everywhere. You know? Niggas be looking at gas. Niggas be gas shopping like, bro, that's crazy. Like, just pump the damn gas, bro.
Yeah, at this point,
and
it doesn't matter.
I don't have a problem with people.
And it doesn't matter because wherever you go, everyone's going to be pretty much expensive. So what's the point? Might as well just pump the gas where you pump normally.
People that are frugal, but that's like a senseless level of being frugal. That's actually not doing anything for you. Like, the time that you're wasting by looking for gas stations is burning more gas. It's going to cost you more money anyways in the long run. So it's just so stupid. So this is Dropsite over on X, and don't worry, every single outlet is pretty much reporting the same 14-point plan. There's some differences, but really the foundation of this is consistent in what I've seen looking throughout the entire internet. So Al Jazeera reports Iran has submitted a structured 3-phase proposal to end the conflict. Dropsite News has not independently confirmed reporting. The Iranian media have not yet published the full 14-point text. However, now, of course, hindsight is 2020, right? We know that this is pretty much the contents of this are relatively true. So there's a 3-phase real proposal here that Iran has sent to the United States. This is what Donald Trump said that he was reviewing before launching Operation Freedom. But he says he doubt it would be acceptable. And he said that on Truth Social, I believe. But here it says, transform the ceasefire into a permanent end to the war within at least 30 days with a region-wide ceasefire. Mutual Iranian-American non-aggression pledge, including Iran's allies and Israel, okay? Establish an international mechanism to guarantee no return to war. Gradual opening of the Strait of Hormuz with Iran overseeing mine clearance and accepting U.S. technical support. That's likely not going to happen. Excuse me. Parallel gradual lifting of the blockade on Iranian ports, withdrawal of U.S. forces from Iran's maritime perimeter, and an end to military buildup. Amend the compensation clause under a new proposed framework. Phase 2 nuclear file.
Oh boy.
Full freeze on uranium enrichment for up to 15 years. So look, this is good.
And bro, like, even though they're the ones pissed, they're still willing to cooperate into the real point that they keep bringing up, which is the nuclear point. And like, bro, they're trying to they're trying to fucking negotiate something that they know that they're not.
This
bro,
is
like,
where the
on,
confliction was. I don't know how true this is. Suleiman was saying the same thing. I saw this being echoed in some way on CBS, I believe. Look, they're willing to talk about the uranium, and
they're
Mario
willing
was
to
saying
talk about
this
it.
on X like 2 days ago, and my
it.
brother had told me, but it's not going to be the same way the United States wants to talk about uranium. And really what you need to understand is if Iran is to talk about any sort of high enrichment of uranium or the enrichment amount, all of these clauses or stipulations, the biggest thing that you can see, or at least the consistency that you can see echoed in all of these nuclear proposals, is they will quickly have access to that again. You know, for them, it's not about getting, or for the United States, it's completely about getting rid of it, right? For them to not have it anymore. For Iran, it's about it being there on the back burner if they need to quickly access it. And the reason that that's been the case for them is because we've attacked them and stabbed them in the back like 3 or 4 times during peace talks. So
Yep.
for them, it's kind of like, you know, it's hard for us to trust you anymore. But I think that that's a good development. Afterward, enrichment resumes at 3.67% under a zero storage principle. This was a similar thing in JCPOA. I believe that was the amount under the Iranian nuclear deal previously by Barack Obama in 2016. No dismantling of nuclear infrastructure or destruction of facilities. Fate of highly enriched uranium under discussion, export or downblending, but they're not going to get rid of it. Clear mechanism for sanctions relief tied to nuclear steps. Gradual release of frozen Iranian funds with a defined timeline. That's from the United States to freeze those funds for them. Phase 3, regional security. Strategic dialogue with Arab states and the broader region to build comprehensive regional security system. So Iran's foreign ministry disputed some of this. So let's see what it says here. And I'll just go ahead and read it because some of you are listening. I know you may be watching, but for the listeners, I'll just translate it for you. So this plan, as I mentioned, is based on initially setting up an agreement to pause. All right, I'm going to speed this up so I can read this like a fluent reader and not a full-blown idiot. Okay. An agreement to pause and end the war. And then discussing the implementation details over a 30-day period. Well, it's very natural that you cannot discuss and finalize the detailed implementation of a 14-point agreement within the framework of such an agreement. You need time, and this 30-day period has actually been allocated for that purpose. So something like an ultimatum or a deadline means this. Look, the IRGC, or the Islamic Republic of Iran, has never negotiated under ultimatums or deadlines. It has never allowed itself to be pressured by such artificial deadlines and continue to do its work. Now, regarding the issue of the guarantees, I want to say that this one proposing this plan is there even a guarantee that American side will commit to anything again. What is your perspective on this when it comes to the guarantee? Look, I don't agree, and this is him asking questions. I'll slow it down here so I'm not confusing you guys, but we are our own guarantee, he says. Our guarantee is our power. The guarantee lies in the leverage we have, and we must be able to use it. It is the best possible way. Our guarantee is our strength. So he says, all right, very well. So I don't know really if there's any real issue here with the nuclear. I think that this is the 14-point plan in its full legitimacy. I think the whole thing is just whether the United States is going to accept it or not. And what he's saying in this video is we're not going to be pressured, which is the whole kind of thing here, right? When JD Vance, Stephen Witkoff, and Jared Kushner went to Islamabad, Pakistan to talk to the foreign minister and the parliament speaker, it was kind of the situation of pressure, right? They didn't really allow them any ability to flex any of their maximalist demands, that being Iran. Because the main thing that was kind of halting everything and the crux of all of it was, we need to talk about the nuclear, you need to limit your enrichment, and you need to relocate your uranium. And for the Iranians, that's completely off the table. And even in this plan, enrichment can resume 3.6 or 3.67% under a zero storage principle, but that's for up to 15 years. Full freeze on uranium enrichment for up to 15 years. So this has an end, just like the JCPOA. So if the United States was to concede to this, this would kind of be very similar to the JCPOA. And this is what I say when I'm always saying the same thing. This is embarrassing because we are walking backwards. We're maybe taking a step forward and we're taking like 10 backwards. We had this figured out. And so Donald Trump
just fucked everything up when he come to Iran for some reason. A fucking retard.
This war because he wanted regime change. And that's the whole point of why we started this conflict in the first place. It was not because of the nukes. However, they may say that all the time. They weren't even going to make a bomb until we attacked. Now they may very well make a bomb if we can't reach some sort of permanent peace deal. Probably. Because we've destroyed our ability to actually respect their sovereignty or their right to self-determination. So now they would race towards one. But previously they were just hedging at 60% and 90% is weapons grade. So yeah, they were close. That threshold was high. And historically, no country has ever went over 30 and not made a bomb. But Iran was on the cusp. They were kind of tipping over, but they never went the whole way, obviously because they knew it would warrant an attack. And so for them, the whole point of enriching the uranium to 60% was to keep the United States away and was to keep Israel in control. That didn't work. So if we can't make a plan now, well then surely they won't just go back to 60. They may make a bomb and they may not say anything about it. That's the real scary part. And we forfeited our ability of transparency by attacking them without them even knowing. I mean, imagine you're Iran. The United States, Israel, the IAEA, any sort of regulation, anything, doesn't really reserve the right to know what you're doing with your uranium anymore when they attack you out of nowhere and kill your leader on day one. So we kind of lost our moral high ground there. You know, say what you want, but how can we condemn Russia when we did the same thing to Iran that Russia effectively did to Ukraine? However, if you really look at the conflict in detail, it's not the same thing. But just for the sake of argumentation and what the United States says to the press, what Donald Trump always says, what Joe Biden has said, it's the same thing, if not way worse, in what we did to Iran. So, you know, that's the 14-point plan. Donald Trump responded to that. So this was earlier yesterday at around evening time. He says, I will soon be reviewing the plan that Iran has just sent to us, the one that I just read to you guys, but I cannot imagine that it would be acceptable in that they have not yet paid a big enough price for what they have done to humanity. Really?
Bro, you're the one, bro, you and Israel are the ones who created crimes. Iran didn't do anything. The fuck? Oh, Dark isn't here anymore. Well, it is what it is.
Be serious here.
Like, bro, you are the ones creating the fucking problem and committed the crimes. Iran didn't do anything. Like, what? They haven't paid the price for what they've done to humanity. Bro, Israel committed a genocide in Gaza. You attacked Iran for no reason. Killed a bunch of kids from a school. That was confirmed, by the way, that a fucking missile, American missile, came from them, and they destroyed a school with children there. and they created so much problems in Lebanon as well. And you're saying, bro, that they are the ones that need to pay. What the fuck are you on about? You smoking some fucking weed. You are smoking some fucking weed, bro. What the fuck? You're the one who actually needs to pay to what you have done to humanity. And Israel as well. Like what?
What they have done to humanity and the world over the last 47 years. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump.
Nothing. What?
So, again, you can see the bad faith and smell it from a mile away.
Yeah,
I can't imagine that it would be acceptable. Okay? Whereas, when we read this, it actually was kind of decent. You know? They're talking about the nukes. They're talking about the nuclear aspect, or really the uranium enrichment.
Yeah, they're willing to, they're legit willing to negotiate with good faith. Americans in Israel are the ones that actually are no good faith at all. You can see it, bro. He didn't even check out the fucking proposal. He immediately said he's probably not gonna fucking accept it. Like, no faith at all. Fucking shitty cunt.
And
clearly wants the war.
After some time, they would bring it down to 3.6. They'd freeze it for a certain amount of time. I mean, they're showing some good faith. And this is them kind of pulling back. Because previously they said, we're not going to talk about any sort of nukes. I think obviously the first step is a long-term or permanent ceasefire. But then well after that, they would be willing to talk about the uranium. So I'm not sure why Donald Trump is saying that.
That's so stupid.
I mean, you kind of get the answer to that when you look at this. So this is Donald Trump on Truth Social.
What the fuck, bro? Yeah, do you want to create a fucking book, Trump? What the fuck is this fucking Truth Social fucking tweet?
Today, at around 4:30 p.m. Eastern, and this is long, but it's important, so I'm gonna have to read all of it, and you can see it on the screen here if you want to read along with me.
Jesus Christ!
So, Donald Trump says today, countries from all over the world, almost all of which are not involved in the Middle Eastern dispute going on so visibly and violently for all to see, have asked the United States if we could help free up their ships, which are locked up in the Strait of Hormuz. So just really quick before I continue on reading.
I don't know about that one.
Something here? Because I did. And I want to show you. This is Donald Trump's tweet, or Truth Social post, on March 20th. So right around the apex, or kind of when we branched off of the apex of the conflict. And he says, we are getting very close to meeting our military objectives, whatever, always lying. But he says here, the Hormuz Strait will have to be guarded and policed as necessary by other nations who use it. Very funny. Now today, Donald Trump is offering protection with what is called Operation Freedom in that same strait. He said on March 20th, he doesn't have to police.
So wait a minute. So wait a minute, you don't want other nations to take control of it. You're the one who wants to control it. You contradicted yourself right there, bro.
Says the United States does not. If asked, we will help these countries in their Hormuz efforts, but it shouldn't be necessary once Iran's threat is eradicated. Well, it's May 3rd, and the threat is not eradicated, and you are getting involved despite the fact that countries aren't even asking you for help. Countries are saying to stop the damn war.
Yeah, they're just saying to stop. That's it.
And so you can kind of see here, indirectly, he's admitting
bro, this guy's admitting so much shit.
Right? We cannot deal with gas being so high. We cannot deal with oil being so high. And this is affecting everything. Everything is at a record high. So
he indirectly admitted that they're desperate.
This is a response to what I've been saying for the last 2 or 3 weeks. The blockade of the blockade was to give Iran the same effect back that we were receiving, which was the global oil shortage, or really just the choking of the price.
Didn't really work.
For the last 40 years, Iran has had economic sanctions imposed on them by the United States. And they know how to operate with little money. They know how to operate despite being turned against financially by the world's greatest power. And that's one of our greatest weapons, is issuing sanctions on countries that we have issues with. Iran has worked around that,
which is unacceptable,
and they've circumvented the matter to the point now where they can still build a very capable military, a ballistic missiles program, all of these drones. Jesus. They have the radars from China. They have the intelligence from Russia. And yeah, inflation is very high there. Yeah, the civilian populace does not have the best time there. That's why they protested previously, and I always admit that. But I mean, they know how to deal with an economic hardship, and they've been dealing with it for several decades. So when you block the blockade, You're not putting them in a situation that they're unfamiliar with.
You're not putting pressure at all since they're used to it at this point. They got sanctioned so many times and got punished so many times to this point that they don't really care.
You're putting them exactly where they've always been, which is under economic hardship. By the way, there's been reports that ships belonging to Iran have passed through that blockade anyways.
So
remember, we
the
only
blockade
really shot
is
one
useless.
ship. That was the Tuska.
Yes.
In the beginning of that blockade. An Iranian cargo ship, we hit the engine room. Donald Trump said on Truth Social that we got on board and saw what was there and seized the ship. And now, I mean, several ships have passed through.
And the rest,
so really, our attempt of blockading the blockade
didn't
is just
work
hurting us more.
Yep.
So he shot himself in the foot with that. And this is a further attempt to repair that mistake, which is Operation Freedom. So we'll read it now and we'll see what it contains or what it consists of. So he says, several countries have asked the United States if we could help free up their ships which are locked up in the Strait of Hormuz on something which they have absolutely nothing to do with. They are merely neutral and innocent bystanders. For the good of Iran, the Middle East, and the United States, we have told these countries that we will guide their ships safely out of these restricted waterways so that they can freely and ably get on with their business. Again, these are ships from areas of the world that are not in any way involved with that which is currently taking place in the Middle East. I have told my representatives to inform them that we will use best efforts to get their ships and crews safely out of the strait. In all cases, they said that they will not be returning until the area becomes safe for navigation and everything else. This process, Project Freedom, will begin Monday morning, so in approximately 2 hours. Middle East time. Oh, okay, oops, not in 2 hours. Actually, it may have just started already because the Middle East is about 7 or 8 hours ahead of us. I am fully aware that my representatives are having very positive discussions with the country of Iran, and that these discussions could lead to something very positive for all. The ship movement is merely meant to free up people, companies, and countries that have done absolutely nothing wrong. They are victims of circumstance. This is humanitarian gesture on behalf of all the United States, Middle Eastern countries, but in particular, the country of Iran. I just can't help but chuckle while I'm reading this because
so
like you started the war. This is why they're suffering.
Yeah,
Many of these ships are running low on
it's
food
not
and
even
everything else
Iran.
necessary for large-scale crews to stay on board in a healthy and sanitary manner. I think it would go a long way in showing goodwill on behalf of all of those who have been fighting so strenuously over the last number of months. If anyway this humanitarian process is interfered with, that interference will unfortunately have to be dealt with forcefully. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Trump. And so, again, what can you see here? You see that he's attempting to do something different.
Yeah, it's just stupidity.
Really, we are desperate for this strait to open up. And he says, once we get the ships back out, it's not that they're going to get in, we just want to get them out. Right? But to me, and I'm being a little silly here, maybe a
see
conspiracy
stupidity
theorist,
right there, but you know,
maybe, and just maybe, we're putting it out there,
oh no,
this is Donald Trump attempting to provoke Iran to strike U.S. ships or any sort of U.S. military asset.
I mean, again, it makes
so that
sense,
we can start back up the Connecticut War and get them or pressure them to concede to our maximalist demands. I think that's more of what this seems like, and here's why. Iran has grown some balls since the outset of this conflict.
Yeah, true.
In the beginning, they were struck off guard and they fought their ass tooth and nail to stay in power, not get regime changed, and not lose to the United States in totality. And they've effectively done that for the last 60 days.
I would say they did that.
And so in gaining the confidence of deterring the world's greatest power from continuing their military invasion, that also is showing in their demands. You can see remnants of it. Because what are they saying in these demands? Well, we're going to make the stipulations and you're going to review them. And if you don't like them, you're not getting your oil and gas is going to stay high. And we know your approval rating is in the toilet, as I read earlier. So Donald Trump is trying to respond to this bold posturing by Iran. And he's going to launch this Operation Freedom where we're going to get the ships out of the strait and we dare you to attack and we dare you to fight back. And so for Donald Trump, this is also him kind of gesturing back. And this is what I have said, and I don't mean to continuously vindicate myself, but I kept saying in the beginning, this blockade on the blockade is a silver bullet, but it's bad because now it's who folds first. Now it's who's going to win. And we've gotten to this petty economic issue where we are not losing. We got a blockade on their blockade. You know, there's a reason why we seized the military campaign or we stopped. It's because it wasn't working and it was earning us condemnation globally. And Donald Trump coped and said on the White House lawn a couple days ago that he feels the blockade on the blockade is working better than the kinetic strikes on Iran, which it is not.
It's so
Neither
stupid.
really work.
What? Wait, what? Wait, what? Huh? It makes no sense. So, you're saying that the strikes that you've done in Iran, it makes no sense, because the only thing that actually kind of worked was the strikes. I mean, it didn't work, but at least they took out something. Well, the blockade is just useless. Like, what? It does nothing.
To regime change Iran
So
and to win a
what?
war
What the
with
fuck
Iran,
are these
you do have
decisions?
to put
What?
boots on the ground. And you got to go in and you got to get underground and you got to take the uranium with heavy excavators. It is likely a several month long process, long-winded, difficult to do. And obviously Donald Trump does not want to go that far, because just
True.
the air campaign has earned him more than enough ridicule that he can already barely handle. So for him, he's trying to find the sneaky way of looking strong while losing. You cannot do both. Okay,
Yeah, it's not
they are
possible.
mutually exclusive. And so for Donald Trump, what's very important here is continuously keeping his image as sharp as he can keep it. Now, to the dumb people, it's working. And Americans buy this, and he banks
Sure.
on the ignorance of several people like
Unfortunately,
you and
it
I
is true.
to buy
It
this
does
shit.
work.
But really, what we do know is Iran, despite the fact that they may be suffering from the economic pressure on the blockade, it's not more than how we're suffering. And they're used to
yeah.
getting shit out of the mud. For them, this is nothing new. There's no new occurrence here. Economic sanctions for 40 years. I think they can deal with a little bit of a naval blockade for a few months.
True.
I mean, what do you
That's
think?
True.
I think that's pretty
true.
fair to say.
That's pretty true.
So for him, he's got to agitate the matter. And he's also got to boldly posture up. What better way than Central Command offering this protection insurance service for all of these oil vessels that can't pass through? By the way, that's what's making Iran beat us strategically. So we're trying to take away their best weapon. And we're doing it in a manner where we're saying, touch us, we dare you. So it's bold. But here's the real kicker. The chairman of national security in Iran, Ibrahim Aziz, says here on X, warning, any American interference in the new maritime regime of the Strait of Hormuz will be considered a violation of the ceasefire.
So you're gonna be in the stupid fucking... you put you in a shitty position now, huh? With this tweet. Get fucked.
Strait of Hormuz and the Persian Gulf would not be managed by Trump's delusional posts. No one would believe blame game scenarios. That's exactly what you want to see. And by that, I mean that's not what you want to see at all. I'm being sarcastic. So, I mean, here's the thing. Whose
That's
bluff
funny.
will be called, we'll find out. This
That's
is
pretty
U.S.
funny.
Central Command's post, and this is kind of the detailed description as to what Operation Freedom is going to look like. And this is officially from their account on X. So let's give it a read. U.S. Central Command forces will begin supporting Project Freedom May 4th to restore freedom of navigation for commercial shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. The mission, directed by the President, will support merchant vessels seeking to freely transit through the essential international trade corridor, a quarter of the world's oil trade at sea, and significant volumes of fuel and fertilizer
bro, that's gonna
products
be chaos
are
over there.
transported through the strait. Our support for this defensive mission is essential to regional security and the global economy as we also maintain the naval blockade, said Admiral Brad Cooper, CENTCOM commander. Last week, the United States Department of State announced a new initiative in partnership with the Department of War to enhance coordination and information sharing among international partners in support of maritime security in the Strait. The Maritime Freedom Construct aims to combine diplomatic action with military coordination, which will be critical during Project Freedom. U.S. military support to Project Freedom will include guided missile destroyers, over 100 land and sea-based aircrafts, multi-domain unmanned platforms, and 15,000 service members. So what happens if Iran launches one drone at this big project?
What's about to say? They have the whole control of that strait. Do you really want to go there? Like, you really want to go there? What the fuck?
You're a first or second year med
Oh,
student
bro.
taking anatomy and you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed because of how much information
Don't care.
Could you imagine? We're back to day one.
Yeah,
It's
we're
February
back to the
28th all
beginning
over
again.
potentially worse. So, again, I think this is Donald
This is
Trump
so bad. This is so
casually
stupid.
finding a way to step into a restart with the war, but
That's so
in
stupid.
doing it, he'll have the ability or the plausible deniability to say, I didn't start it, Iran did.
But that's
And
not how it
they've
works.
threatened us back, and they said, look, if you get involved and you try to help these ships pass through with insurance, which is how we're beating you, we're going to strike you back. That's what Ibrahim Aziz says, and again, that's the chairman of national security. And somebody put this picture, which is quite funny, I must admit. But I mean, look, can it work from the US perspective? Yeah. I mean, it would be really bold for the United States, or sorry, rather, it would be bold for Iran to attack any US vessels in helping these ships. Now, how it's going to be done logistically, I'm seeing different things. I saw a post out of the Wall Street Journal that it won't be direct, but what we can really gather from this is it'll be some sort of security or reassurance so we can get these oil vessels through. A couple questions come up as you read this, though. Is this going to be enough for these oil vessels to actually pass through? But I mean, imagine you're manning one of these ships.
I don't think so.
And you got Donald Trump and you got Iran on one end, or either end, opposing ends. And Donald Trump is saying, we're going to help you get through. No one's going to touch you.
And then the
if they
other
strike
one
us, it's
is
gonna be an
say,
issue.
hey, get these drones up your ass and these missiles. I think if I see missiles and drones coming my end, I'm going to be like, you know what? I'm going to chill.
And then
That's all
Iran
I'm
is
gonna
saying, we will strike you. Don't do it. Does that make you feel safe?
No, it
I think
does
the
not.
answer is no.
It does not,
Because
bro.
you've got two conflicting sides that cannot even come to some sort of ceasefire agreement, long term at least, and they certainly can't come to a peace plan. They were supposed to meet in a...
This is what I don't understand, though. Not in a ceasefire. Why are they making plans to attack? Like, it's a ceasefire. You're the one who asked for the fucking ceasefire, bruh! And you're trying to make an operation to attack them and to replenish the Strait of Hormuz? To reopen that? Like, what? It's fucking ridiculous. It's so stupid.
Islamabad
It's so
like
dumb.
3 times in the last 3 weeks. I'm literally not lying about that. If you were paying attention to the news, after the first round failed, JD Vance was supposed to meet in Islamabad. He didn't even take off on the runway. On Tuesday, and then on Friday, and then on a Sunday by Israeli media, apparently, they were supposed to talk, never spoke. And so, imagine you're manning one of these ships, and you see these two conflicting sides. By the way, they're paying attention to the news because they're directly involved in what happens out of the news. Well, then you probably wouldn't actually feel safe, even if the
Yeah.
United States guarantees insurance. And we tried this in the beginning.
And
And Donald Trump said, we will insure every ship, don't worry about it. But no one's going to insure a ship that's
Yeah,
passing
nobody,
through waters
bro.
of a crazy...
Bro, they're never gonna go towards water where there's mines, people guarding that shit with weapons, with drones, rockets. They are not gonna risk going there and getting everything destroyed.
regime that's saying we
Like
will
nobody,
hit
bro.
you with a missile or drone strike you if you dare try and defy us.
They're never gonna do it, bro. It's so dumb.
It's a matter of
So fucking dumb.
posturing. And look, Iran obviously has complete control of that strait. They obviously do. A couple Fridays ago, Abbas Araghchi, the foreign minister, said,
What news? Oh, what news? Lol. All the news is owned by a few families. I mean, yes. That's why I don't watch the news. Because they brainwash people and they actually don't tell the truth most of the time. But yeah, true. Like, okay. I mean, I agree. They're owned by Zionists. They're owned by Jews. They're the ones that control the media. Even here in Europe, I can tell you for a fact. And they brainwash everyone and tell lies and don't actually fucking tell the truth about anything at this point. But yeah, I agree. Okay.
we're going to open it up. Then Trump blocked the blockade and he said, now we're going to close it. And we saw the oil prices follow what the foreign minister...
But that doesn't mean you... okay. So I agree that they're owned by a bunch of the Jew families and they control the whole media and shit like that. But I'd say to watch a little bit, because you need to at least understand the context, I'd say. Because there's some news, for example, I don't know, like When it comes to war news, I don't think it's a good idea. Because we all know if Israel is in a war, they're gonna make sure that the people that own those news, they're gonna show a good image for Israel, even though they don't have a good image. But when it comes, I would say, when it comes from news, it comes from police and stuff like that. Like in the country itself, I would say it's worth watching at least to be informed when it comes to those type of like situations and stuff. But when it comes to the big picture, wars and stuff like that, it's not a good idea. Yeah, I do agree with you. It's not a good idea. It's better to watch alternatives. For example, Riyadh or Myron. They have a good amount of information.
When he said we would open it up, oil dipped down to even around 89 or 90 bucks a barrel, which is still quite high. However, I'll admit it's a lot lower than where it previously was. And then he says, never mind, we're closing the strait. Right away, oil shot back up. So it's obvious they control it. Okay? Anybody arguing
I'm French? No, I'm Portuguese, but I do speak French. I speak French.
that is just an idiot.
This mouse backpack is the best I've ever used.
Introducing the mouse.
We don't care. Okay, so that's the first video. Now, time to another lie, because Trump keeps lying in Truth Social for some reason. They always do that shit. They always do that shit for some fucking other reason. If he was more honest, I think people will at least, you know, they would be pissed still, but at least they would understand to a certain extent. But yeah.
BBC News and Ryan Grimm. It says here, Trump's Project Freedom collapsed after Saudi Arabia and Kuwait suspended U.S. military access to their bases, airspace, and overflight rights. The kingdom blocked the U.S. from flying aircraft out of Prince Sultan Air Base or through Saudi airspace, completely grounding the operation and removing the air defense umbrella protecting ships in transit. Now, what did I tell you, people? What did I tell you?
What is his social? What do you mean by what is his social? You mean the Truth Social? You mean you don't know what Truth Social is? Truth Social is like the app that Trump invented since he got banned from Twitter or X. So he invented that application so he could literally talk shit and tweet and do stuff on through oh Jesus Christ, Truth Social. Jesus Christ, I couldn't say it properly right there. But yeah, that's like it's literally a social media that he invented so he could talk shit and talk to the people. Because he got censored and banned on Twitter, on X. Which is funny.
I predicted, my brother and I as well, we clearly predicted.
If you put Truth Social Trump, I think it should appear. You should be able to like at least see some of his tweets or some of his posts. That I've seen some of them. Jesus Christ.
And stated from Fred.
And this guy, if you're talking about Riyadh, which is his name, from your context of your question, it's just YouTube Riyadh, literally Riyadh. If you type RYAD. Tá bem, show. Também. So YouTube channel is Riyadh, literally.
Mãe é bem de chamar?
Não é preciso, eu ponho sempre olhando. Tenho 5 anos?
Às vezes pareces.
Olha, tu parece que tens menos 5. Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah, it's Riyadh. RYAD. So yeah, he's someone that I'd say I suggest to watch when it comes to like the war and stuff like that. When it comes to talking about important stuff, geopolitics and stuff like that, he has a good amount of knowledge. I really like hearing him and like connecting the dots, showing you the evidence and stuff like that, showing the proof of a good amount of stuff. There's not only him. There's also, for example, Meyer Gaines, which is his brother. He's also good as well on YouTube or on Kick. They do he streams on multiple platforms: YouTube, Kick, Rumble. YouTube, he does. Give me a minute, okay. Yeah, he streams on a good amount of good amount of social media. And yeah, he's also very good. He's very good. Like they know how to extract the information, give all of us the information, and they know how to connect the dots and give us the proof of it. So I really like reacting to them and talking and on my stream. Like they're very good. It's just what they say and what they do and how they connect the dots and the proof that they show. At the end, it just makes sense. And that's why I really, show and react to this. So you people here in Europe are informed, because not a lot of people know about this in Europe. So I won't say I'm the only one, but I say that I'm the only one who actually tells the fucking truth through their information and what they say, because it just makes sense. But let's continue.
February, that if the United States is to get into a long-winded conflict with Iran, regardless of whatever happens, one of the key takeaways, or one of the things that will forfeit the ability to actually...
Oh, you're from the UK. Not gonna lie, I see there's a lot of chaos over there. When it came to, like, I know it's been a couple months, but I've seen a good amount of chaos over there as well. So the other thing I'm gonna say is this: I have nothing against Muslims, okay? I think they are our brothers, bro. They're our brothers. I'm Christian, I'm Catholic, they're our brothers. But I'm looking at what's going on in the Middle East right now, and you need to think twice. Why do we have a bunch of Muslims everywhere? It's because Israel keeps going into war with all the Middle East. That's literally the reason. If Israel wouldn't have the country that they have, if Israel would never go to war with all the Middle East, Muslim people would be in their country, in their happiness of happiness in their country. But they had to do dumb shit, you know? So I understand one part where they don't want Muslims to come to Europe, and we don't have European culture anymore. Like, I understand that point of view, but I also understand that we need to help our brothers, because it's because of America and Israel that they're getting kicked out from their country, because they keep going to wars and doing dumb shit. Like, you know? I understand both points of view. You need to understand both points of view. So, honestly, just fuck Israel. Let's be honest. Just fuck Israel. Because if Israel would never done this dumb shit that they're doing right now, everyone would be happy, honestly. If you think about it. Everyone would be actually fucking happy. If they would never gotten to war with the whole Middle East, nothing bad would actually come to fruition. Like the immigration problem, all the wars, the economic problems, like all these problems. If Israel wouldn't commit in all these stupid fucking wars to the whole Middle East, all these problems that we have right now would be solved or not even existed. But you know, like I don't. Have you guys seen the meme? I don't know. Not a lot of people know about this meme. It's not really a meme. It's more like the reality, where there's like an arm holding a gun with a silencer, and people keep saying that the gun, the arm, is Israel, the gun is America, and the silencer is Europe. I think that's true. It just makes sense. Like, the one pulling the strings is Israel, the one shooting the shots is fucking America, and the one silencing everything is fucking Europe. So, I do agree. I do agree with that. But yeah, if Israel would never done the problems that they've done, we wouldn't have the problems that we have here in Europe, in America, and the Middle East would stabilize, and there would be no problems with anybody. So yeah, literally, the whole problem is Israel. Literally Israel. But yeah, let's continue.
We exercise in favor of our power after
which is unfortunate, but
is that
it's
we have
the truth.
control of
It's the
bases or
truth.
several military bases scattered throughout the GCC or these Gulf nations. Of course,
I have nothing against Jewish people, okay? I have problems against Zionists. That's the problem. Zionists. They are the problem. Because I've seen Jewish people that they condemn Israel and the Zionism with what is going on, and not just that, what they're doing in general. So the problem is not really the Jews, it's more like the Zionists and Israel. They are the problems. They are the fucking problem. But let's continue.
Most important ones being in Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, the largest one being in Qatar. That one was hit, at least a power plant was hit, and so it was non-operational for a duration of time. And now we've gotten to the point where we tried to launch a further operation, that being Operation Freedom, and Kuwait and Saudi Arabia came out today, just about 20 or 30 minutes ago. This is a verified report that they did not want the United States to operate from their bases or use their airspace to protect the ships in the Strait. These ships obviously being responsible for fulfilling the mission of Donald Trump's Operation Freedom, Pete Hegseth coining it as the Red, White, and Blue Dome. This was a plan announced on Sunday, and we'll go through Trump's Truth Social post. We got a lot to cover, so don't worry. This was announced on Sunday as a plan to escort these vessel ships, or these cargo vessels, these oil vessels, out of the Strait of Hormuz. Approximately 1,500 to 2,000 ships are currently stuck in the Strait of Hormuz, unable to pass through due to the blockade from Iran, as well as the blockade from the United States on the blockade, which has proved to be...
And by the way, they made a blockade and it doesn't work. Iranian ships with oil still go through, by the way. So like America is making that blockade for no reason.
An economic disaster, and has put the conflict into more economic turmoil, or actually caused more economic turmoil. And so Donald Trump tried to address this. So go back Sunday, Donald Trump, he says, we're going to launch this operation because of the desperation of all these Middle Eastern countries and all these European countries asking us to get involved. He said this on Truth Social. Don't forget, prior, Donald Trump, and I'm getting straight into the show here. I'm not even doing any announcements. Maybe let me read a chat, but don't forget, prior, Donald Trump had said, oh, well, NATO is a paper tiger. These countries need the Strait more than us. We don't need to open up the Strait. They need to worry about the Strait. We're not going to help them. If they ask us for help, then maybe we'll get involved. Here's the thing. They're not asking for help. They're asking for both sides to reach a peace deal.
There you go, right there, Trump. There it is. There's the answer, bro. We're not here to go to war. Bro, we're not choosing any sides. We want you fuckers to actually come with a peace treaty and actually stop the stupidity. That's what we want. Just not be stupid. Just peace agreement. Diplomacy. What's the point of destroying each other? Stupidity. Stupid. Makes no sense. I'm never gonna understand what, like, it's so stupid. The only thing we want is peace. Like, what's the point of destroying each other? Stupidity. It's stupid. But Israel is the one that's at fault on top of everything. Like, let's be honest here. They're the ones at fault, 100%.
That's what the Chancellor of Germany says. He's condemned both sides. That's why the United States, really, Donald Trump pulled out 5,000 plus troops because he was upset with him. And every other European country as well has voiced condemnation. Italy and others. And NATO as a whole. And so really, it's become a situation.
I mean, it is true we do condemn both sides, but I would condemn more the American Israeli side, because they're the ones who started the war. They're the ones doing a war for no reason. They, honestly, if you think about it, they are the ones attacking the whole Middle East. They attacked the whole Middle East together, so they're the ones more condemned, in my opinion. But it is true, they are both part of the war, so I do agree that both are condemned.
Situation where we tried to act like the Strait being blocked was not affecting us. That proved to really be invalid after maybe a week or so of the conflict ongoing, and then the economic pressure fluttering over to the United States. Why? Because gas is at an average of $4.50 right now. And if you don't know, when energy prices increase, so do the price of every single good after, right? Everything else kind of ensues. So you have energy going up, then you have groceries going up, and then everything else that people need. Regular everyday activities, regular everyday items can go up. Even car parts. I was looking at car parts earlier, brakes and things like that. Prices have gone up. And of course, you got tariffs to couple in with that. It doesn't really help the matter. But overall, we've kind of bragged, the Trump administration has bragged and said, we don't need the Strait of Hormuz. All right, fine. And to make a fair point, we definitely don't need it nearly as much as these countries. Remember, 20% of the world's global oil kind of runs through that 21-mile passageway, being the Strait of Hormuz, that is responsible for direct transport to Asia, Indochina, and then Europe. They actually depend on that oil physically. That's the oil that they use for their countries to power their countries, for energy, for gas, everything else in between. They've had a shortage of that. And so now they're kind of entering the beginning, or really have been in the beginning stage of an energy crisis.
True.
And now due to that, there has been an economic disaster in terms of the global oil market. We've felt it here in the United States. I'm not sure where oil is right now. I haven't checked, but it's always hovering around 100, 109. It's even crept up to 120 at some points.
Talking about oil, let's do a little. Oh yeah, wait. Let's do a little update, because I do check on this stream. I always check the oil price. Ooh, it's on. Wait, it was on 96. Wait, an hour ago it was 96. Wait, what? Wait. Oh, it went up, but it went back down. Okay, bro. In this 1 hour, it went that much up. Like what? It was at 106 last week, and then it went down to 95, and we're going back up to 100 again. Bro, Jesus Christ, this is bad for everybody.
And experts and analysts have predicted is that if this conflict continues on, it will easily cross the boundary of 200, which will be catastrophic for oil prices. And if you think things are expensive now, it'll get worse.
They get worse, yeah.
Donald Trump and the MAGA administration understands this is political unaliving for them. Midterms are right around the corner. They are going to lose the House. They are going to lose a lot of the Senate likely. So for them, they have to look politically stable, strong, and actually have a control of the situation by the time November rolls over. And so this is damage control. What does Donald Trump try to do to kind of address the answer of, or the question of, well, gas is so high, this war has made everything unaffordable? The first thing he does, and this is the thing that they've all echoed, and you're going to see Marco Rubio and Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump himself say this. I'm going to play these clips in a moment. But the first thing they do is go, well, we don't actually need that gas. The United States can afford to pay a little bit of a higher gas price because of the fact that Iran won't have a nuclear weapon. They're saying don't.
That's so dumb. That's so fucking dumb. So you're telling me you're willing to let your whole country suffer for... It's be intelligent.
Don't complain, stop complaining, be grateful because now Iran won't have a nuke. Donald Trump actually told kids this inside of the White House. There were some clips that surfaced. I'll play those as well. And now, in desperation to open up that strait that we so viciously bragged we don't need open, we launched Operation Freedom. CENTCOM had announced this on...
Oh yeah, that's true. It makes no sense. So you don't need it, you don't care, but you launch an operation that is for opening it. If you really didn't need it, why are you making an operation to open the strait again? It's because simple. Because you are getting affected by it. You just don't want to admit it. Like what?
Sunday night, or really Sunday afternoon at around 4 p.m. Eastern time. And the plan essentially was to give a naval escort with several aircraft carriers, several different guided cruise missile ships, or all these different military assets to protect these oil vessels and passing through the Strait of Hormuz. Excuse me. And it was a monumental failure. It didn't even last a day. The IRGC had struck a cargo ship belonging to a French firm, allegedly, and that was a ship that was being led by the U.S. Navy escort, or this naval escort. And they tried to walk it back, at least CENTCOM did, in saying that this is not going to be this military offensive campaign. But I mean, if Iran is weaponizing the Strait of Hormuz, and we're directing our Navy inside of that same strait that we are blockading, by the way, in order to pull ships out so they can export oil, which is what they've been weaponizing so that they don't have to get attacked militarily, well, then it kind of makes it an offensive measure in a way, because we're getting involved in their main weapon. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't, right? The Strait of Hormuz needs to be open. I'm not this pro-IRGC guy. I think it's annoying that it's closed. I don't like the fact that prices have skyrocketed. I don't like the fact that the world as a whole and its economies have kind of suffered as a result. But you also have to be reasonable. You also have to be a little bit more logical and sensible. Iran does not really have much wiggle room here. They don't have the most powerful military. They're a middle power at best. A lot of their missiles are still existent, but they're not able to be utilized if the United States is not launching kinetic strikes on Iran. Now, they hit the oil facility in Fujairah, the oil pipeline in Fujairah on the coastline of the UAE, right next to Oman, just recently on Monday. But in regards of kinetic or military strikes, Iran has not really been able to exercise that ability because the United States has not really provoked them in doing so ever since the ceasefire that took place on April 6th or April 7th, followed by JD Vance and his attempted peace talks that failed. So it's kind of been this economic war, back and forth blockades, back and forth choking of one another's economy. We try to block their ports. Ships allegedly got through. We struck a ship the other day, killed some passengers, whatever have you.
Jesus.
But
Hi there. Would you like to receive a gift? I'm a missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ of
things have really been transforming in Iran's favor. And I'll tell you how. I'll get into everything. But Project Freedom stopped 100%. As of May 5th, and it was launched on May 4th. So it only lasted about a day.
No, we don't care about that.
Of course, this failed because the IRGC has the ability of hurling drones over the strait, missiles, whatever it is, and threatening these oil vessels, which will be a lot more reluctant to actually pass through, even with a U.S. guarantee of military security. And this is what Donald Trump tried in the beginning of the conflict. He said, we'll guarantee these ships, and no insurance company is actually going to guarantee any sort of protection or damage coverage for these ships if the IRGC, this country that's being attacked, or the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the military faction of Iran, is threatening to attack these ships as a result of U.S. invasion, which is what we did. We invaded them on February 28th, and we struck Tehran, we killed their supreme leader, so obviously this is a charged up regime. So we tried the Operation Freedom, it doesn't work.
Didn't work.
But this is the biggest thing that I want to highlight to all of you. Pay very close attention here. Since the start of this war, one country has been looking significantly stronger, and one country has been looking significantly weaker. Have you been noticing that? And
China.
This is actually
China?
to my dismay. I don't like to admit this, but this is unfortunately the truth for anybody who is not MAGA captured, anybody who is not an idiot,
Or do you mean Iran
modern
in
day
general?
neoconservative. Really, the reality has become Iran has displayed that it's strong.
True.
They display that they have the escalation dominance. They have the ability of deterrence because they just stopped Trump in his tracks from his next operation and opening up the strait. Didn't even last 48 hours. And so really the United States has failed after failed. It's been failure after failure after failure.
That is true. They failed a lot. They said they struck all the nuclear sites. They didn't, because they keep using the analogy and the excuse that they're doing this war, which is nuclear. But if you destroyed in June their nuclear sites and all the uranium and shit, why do you have this excuse of going to war because of nuclear? Makes no sense. Which is pretty funny. So at the end, it means that they failed. They keep saying they're gonna destroy this, and they fail. They keep saying they were gonna do this, and then they fail. They failed every single operation.
And kind of these empty, bold claims. And Donald Trump has not helped the matter. He's launched all these threats on Truth Social saying, we're going to destroy their military, and we're going to completely cut their legs out from under them. We're going to change the regime. The people are going to take the country back. And none of that has happened, really.
Yeah,
we have not stopped their missiles program. We have not stopped their drones program. Their drones program just hit a oil facility in the UAE, that being in Fujairah. I think 3 Indian workers were injured as a result, and then subsequent strikes in the following days. However, Iran has not claimed responsibility for those. They said that that wasn't them. I don't know how true that is there, because they received global condemnation, those strikes in the oil ports. So maybe they thought, hey, let's pull back on this, or at least claiming ownership for the attacks. But you can see that Iran has become very bold. And their confidence has bolstered because they've just now successfully deterred the most powerful country in the world militarily for the last 68 days. I believe this conflict has now reached. So we're going into our third month now. It is May. It's currently May 6th. We're moving on to May 7th. And still.
And America said this is going to be over in a couple of days. And they are in the third month. Bro, Iran is proven that they are big boys. They are big respect to them. They were able to last this long. America's fucking retarded, and Israel on top of it as well. Yeah, they have the best military in the world. With Israel probably second best at working together, and somehow they're getting shit on. It's pretty funny.
No peace talks have actually gone anywhere. No peace deal, and the ceasefire has extended. Now, yesterday and the day before, seem like the kind of cusp of the ceasefire because of the fact that the naval blockade was going to be opened up by this Operation Freedom Plan that Donald Trump had launched on Truth Social on Sunday, paired along with Central Command. And so they said, we're going to open up the strait, we're going to guide these ships through. Didn't work. But what Robert Pape is saying, and what all the other experts, as well as myself, I'm not an expert, but what I was predicting as well, is the United States was banking on an attack on a U.S. Navy vessel in order to actually attack Iran full-fledged, like we did in the beginning of the conflict in the first 40 days. That seemed to at least be the plan of this trap of provoking Iran into actually striking the United States, so we had a valid grounds or basis for hitting them back. As you know, Donald Trump and his Operation Epic Fury has received global condemnation from his NATO partners and everybody else because of the fact that the war was highly unnecessary and does not prove to be beneficial for the United States.
Literally nobody, there's not even one fucking person except the fucking Zionist Jews. But apart from them, there was nobody was for this war. Nobody. Literally nobody. This is so stupid.
Whatsoever. Rather, it proves to be beneficial for Israel. And this is the whole thing. Benjamin Netanyahu obviously sold the idea that this would be a short-scaled conflict. This would not be long-winded. This would not be an Iraq Part 2. This would be a shorter Gulf War. We would take out the key components in Iran, their military leadership, and then from there, we'd walk away and we'd have a regime we don't have to worry about in the Middle East, that being the IRGC. This home of terror, this harbor of terror, funder of the proxy networks, and most importantly, and what this administration has been weaponizing, this nuclear threat, right? They're going to make a nuke. They already have a nuke. They're a week away from a dirty bomb. Stephen Witkoff, Mark Levin, all these guys echoing the same sentiment, really. It's been the same Hasbara rhetoric for years, actually. Since the 90s, we've been saying that Iran is very close to making a full-scale mass destructive weapon, right? Weapons of mass destruction. It's the same thing. However, we've gone to Iran, and to Donald Trump's surprise, I would assume, what was supposed to be a few weeks has now lasted 68 days. I'm telling you all of this to say that Iran has proved they are far more powerful than they actually are.
Funny.
That doesn't matter as much, though. What they actually did prove that's way more detrimental for us back at home is we're not as strong as we once seemed. It was the truth, and it was a reality that at a point in time, the United States could exercise brinksmanship, put our naval vessels, our amphibious assault vessels on the coastline of any nation, and say, you need to comply with our demands. If you don't, things will get worse. And that was typically more than enough to actually get any country to concede to our maximalist demands or our desires, whatever we needed them to do. That was kind of like the MO. Now that hasn't worked. Obviously, we tried that on Iran, and Iran, their foreign minister, all of their spokespeople always echo the same or harbor really the same sentiment. We will not be bullied by the United States. And so now they're calling Axios Foxios. They're saying Axios is fake.
Fucking nobody should be bullied by the United States. They've been causing dumb shit everywhere with Israel. People need to start fucking having the position for themselves and defending themselves.
News, I mean, they've gotten brave. And it's gotten to the point now where they're telling you what Donald Trump is going to try to do, and then they're telling you how they're going to respond, and they're telling you how it's going to fail, and then Donald Trump is going to go back to the drawing board and try something else. That's what's been happening for the last month and a half.
Yeah, nonstop.
Since we've had this a bunch of stuff, but it doesn't work. I hope continues to extend. Much. But to no avail, it has not worked. And so continuously, as we try and exercise more steps, as we try and exercise new possibilities of peace, or maybe new military campaigns, or these shadowy, vague operations like Operation Freedom, where we're actually provoking them to attack us. Whatever we try, it doesn't work. They call it out. They stop it. They shut it down. And then we have to go back to square one. And Donald Trump has to let out this lie. He hurls these lies on Truth Social or to the press and says, well, don't worry, it all worked out, but we actually have good negotiations ongoing. And so now Donald Trump, and this is out of the New York Times, but everybody's really saying this, Donald Trump is saying, we're in a good stage of talks with Iran right now. We're having good talks. But then Iranian leadership, Ismail Bariya, I believe his name is, the spokesperson for Foreign Minister of Affairs, as well as Abbas Araghchi, are both saying we're not talking to anybody, right? And this has been the case since the beginning. They're saying there's really no negotiations that are currently being had. Yeah. The United States seized their operation, and now we don't know what's next. And that's the reality, right? So it's just this back and forth. But remember, Donald Trump said in the beginning, and he said several times in the last few weeks, we don't know who to talk to. They don't have leadership that's existing. But then at the same time, he's saying we're having good talks with Iran right now.
True.
And so
that
it looks
true.
like they're going to come to the table. They're very desperate for a deal.
themselves. True.
And it's a
That's
constant contradiction. It's a fest of contradictions. And it's gotten to the point now where it's just really an insult to the American people. And this has become so detrimental, not only because of the fact that gas is high and the economy is suffering and Wall Street is feeling it, investors don't like it, and the UAE and these Gulf countries will not actually be able to capitalize on tourism and real estate like they once were kind of leaning on, because that's the direction.
Oh yeah, by the way, as the war ends, that's gonna change now. The tourism and shit like that is gonna go fucking crazy over there. It's not gonna be good for them because of Iran. Wow. So if they end up, even if they end up having a peace treatment, the fact that they went to war and Iran was able to do the damage that they did, not a lot of tourists are gonna go there. Not a lot of people are gonna buy real estate and stuff like that. So it's gonna be actually worse for them now. Because of what America and Israel did, it's bad for all the Middle East countries when it comes to economic wise. For the future, if they end up having a peace treatment, bruh, they legit fucked up everything.
That they're going to have to shift towards
Jesus
instead of
Christ.
oil in the next 20 or 30 years as the world moves towards electric rather than energy or oil. But the real issue with all of this ongoing, or the real biggest problem with this conflict, is that the United States has kind of lost that iconic #1 on the scale figure, or we've lost that we are the best, most strongest power in the world and nobody can touch us. And remember how bad the conflict looked in Iraq. Iraq was a 10-20 year struggle. It was this problem that we cannot put a cap on. It was a war that was started for a false pretext, which was weapons of mass destruction,
which there were none, by the way. And Israel were the ones that said there was weapons of mass destruction over there. And then at the end, there were none. They killed a bunch of Iraqis and a bunch of people, American people, soldiers were dead. So nice, America, for buying to a lie instead of actually doing the right thing.
Something that never existed. The UN admitted this.
Yep.
George Bush actually admitted this in an interview with CNN in 2017. But this is even worse. We're not saying Iran has weapons of mass destruction. We're saying they have nukes. They don't have nukes. They don't even have nukes.
They
never had nukes. They had a fatwa, which is a religious ruling in 2003, if my memory serves me correctly, that nukes are haram because of the destruction that they may cause upon an innocent civilian population. As well as the fact that they've onwardly and repeatedly expressed they don't actually want a nuke. They're just hedging at 60% enriched uranium, which is not weapons grade.
Yeah, they were reaching. Okay, so to let you guys know, to be able to consider that you could have a nuke, or you need 90% of uranium enrichment, and they were at 60% for many years, by the way. So for so many years they were doing 60%. If they really wanted to make a nuke, they had literally the pieces to create it. But for many years they didn't do it. If they really wanted to create a nuke and become a threat, they would have done it, but they didn't do it. So this is just stupid. It's just another excuse for Israel and Iran and America to go to war with Iran. Because if Iran wanted a nuke, they would have made it a long time ago, but they didn't do it. So that's all I'm saying.
But it's close to it in order to deter factions like the Israeli Defense Force and the United States from overthrowing their regime or threatening their right to self-determination, their sovereignty, all of those other things. So this has not worked. If Iraq looked bad for the last 20 years, imagine how bad this is going to look. And so it really doesn't matter what Donald Trump tries to do anymore.
It's going to be
the fact that he started this war, and now it's potentially ending, according to Marco Rubio, is even worse because we got nothing done. At least in Iraq, we actually overthrew the regime. We got rid of Saddam Hussein, which, for better or worse, you can argue later. I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying we actually achieved some goals in Iraq.
Yeah, you did.
And
some
it still
stuff.
proved to be fruitless and detrimental for the Middle East and the U.S. as a whole. Of course, it served the largest benefit to Israel. Israel was the greatest beneficiary of that conflict.
The biggest one, of course.
And they wanted that conflict to happen. That's what Netanyahu was dreaming of since he took power in the 90s, the clean break deal, everything else in between. That is something that He was the architect of the United States kind of getting involved in the Middle East, starting with Iraq in 2003. Not starting.
I mean, there was a document from the 1990s, from the 70s, plan, literally a full-on plan from Israel that they wanted to destroy or go to multiple Middle East countries, like so they can have control of the whole of the Middle East. So let's be honest, they're the ones that are at the top of the, you know, benefits. Like they're the ones that are more beneficial than America.
But really, the kinetic aspect and the full-scale forever war idea started in the early 2000s, late 90s. But now we've done the same thing in Iran, and it's like, when are people going to learn? You know, we always lie and say, this country has a terrorist regime, this country has these great big weapons, we start a war, we kill a bunch of people, we raise gas prices, we destroy our ability of deterrence or looking like a stable nation, and in turn, we have not even changed the regime in Iran.
You didn't do anything.
We have not even cut off their missile supply. We have not even stopped their enrichment of uranium. They still have it. We haven't seized it. We've done nothing. We've literally done nothing. Militarily, they're defeated is what a lot of people will say. Yeah, but to what benefit is that? I mean, what does that even mean?
It doesn't change.
And this is the problem, too. This is how you know this conflict isn't going well for us. Look at the last 3 weeks. Have you tried reading the news aside from watching my streams? You'd probably become very confused.
I would never watch the streams, bro. That's the streams. What the fucking news? We all know that the news are so fucking bunch of bullshit, bro.
Everybody's saying different things. This administration is running around like chickens with their fucking heads cut off. No one knows what the hell is happening.
True.
Every single article is saying something different. Everybody on X is saying something different. Donald Trump is contradicting Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio is contradicting Pete Hegseth. And it's just become this...
They're just contradicting each other. It's just funny. It's just so funny, bro. It's so fucking funny.
Disaster. And that's a sign we don't know what the hell we're doing. We have no idea what we're doing. We don't know why we're in the region, but we're there because Donald Trump said it would be quick. We have to be there. Now it's been 70 days. We're in our 3rd month, that being May. We're going to enter the 4th month.
You're probably going to enter the 1st month, by the way.
And
probably.
To no avail, no success has actually been reached at all. So we need to set the sail on this war. We need to let it go. I am praying that Donald Trump comes to his senses, pulls out. I'm honestly myself getting sick and tired of talking about it, but it is important because this is relevant, and at any moment this can break back into a full-scale kinetic conflict. Strikes, airstrikes, jets, everything like that, that can happen in the next few days. That's been realistic, and that could have happened from April 6th to now, and it's been a month since April 6th. It's actually May 6th now. So the ceasefire has lasted just a little bit over a month, and I'm hoping that it can stay that way, we reach some sort of peace deal. But the problem is, with Iran growing so much balls like they did in the midst of this conflict by defending themselves successfully, for them, it's like, why are we going to make a peace deal with the United States unless we get what we want? For them, they've successfully defended themselves. They've deterred the United States. They've captured the Strait of Hormuz. They made tons of money on it. And they've had every other country in the region, Europe and Asia and Indochina, at the mercy of Iran, at the mercy of the IRGC, at their feet, begging them to open up the strait, paying them, or charging these ships tolls. So look at how much power they've gained from this conflict. Why would they then come to the table with the United States and at the threat of a few drone strikes or at the threat of a few strikes from an F-35 jet from the United States concede and say, oh no, we want peace? That has proved to be ineffective.
It's the opposite, yeah.
It's rendered ineffective, it's invalid, it's void. It's done nothing to actually change the regime or stop their military capability. So for them, they're going to make maximalist demands as well. And they're going to ask for reparations. They're going to ask for sanctions relief. They're going to ask for no military bases in the Middle East belonging to the United States within their peripheral. These are all things we cannot concede on. So then we have our asks, we have our demands, our requests in these quote-unquote good faith peace talks, and we say, well, you can't have any nuclear enrichment. Matter of fact, you can't have uranium at all. You got to relocate it. You got to bring it down to 3.67%, which is nowhere near weapons grade right away, only enough to power a power plant. And you've got to do no more missiles, or at least if you contain the missile program, it can only go as far as the eye can see. Who's actually going to agree to that? Not the country that's been strategically whooping our ass for the last 70 days. And that's why I'm very frightened at the idea that this can end soon, or really I'm not motivated by that reality because of the fact that both sides are now becoming very bold. And for Iran, this matters deeply because they can't just let this conflict end without guaranteeing they won't be attacked again.
True.
And today, or matter of fact, yesterday, it was reported all day this morning, though, Iran is now striking Lebanon and Beirut again. And civilians have been killed as a result. And it's the same thing all over again. They're still trying to annex southern Lebanon. And so you have that issue going on. And southern Lebanon is home to the Iranian proxy Hezbollah, which is a part of the IRGC in a way. And so, or really a part of the Iranian regime, their total military faction that encompasses some of the region. And so that's another issue, is you have Israel being able to agitate the matter in the middle and make a peace deal being brokered nearly impossible. They have the ability, or they really reserve the right, to strike Lebanon at any time, to strike Iran at any time, and drag the United States right back into a full-scale war. And this is something Marco Rubio admitted in the beginning of the war. He said, we started this war because we knew that Israel and Iran were going to get into a full-scale conflict from Israel being the aggressor. A preemptive strike is what he said. And that went viral. That surfaced everywhere. And that was in the very beginning. I mean, I believe in March he said that. So as early on as a few weeks after the war had started. So with all these things existing at the same time, I'm not trying to be a pessimist. I'm not trying to be patronizing or somebody who's a Debbie Downer. But when you look at all of the facts, when you look at the fact that both sides are asking for these wild demands, and the fact that Donald Trump still tries to posture and look very strong and make it look like he has control of a situation he has no control over, well then to me, that's the first concerning signal that this may not actually cease anytime soon.
Probably.
And this could potentially be a forever war. Could we reach a peace deal? Yeah, but one side's going to have to concede.
Yeah.
And it seems like Iran did that with their previous 14-point proposal that I went over in my last stream.
Yeah, they changed
it. Kind of
it.
seems like they did that. They offered a phase 1, a phase 2. The
Yeah,
phase 2 had
they changed the proposal
nuclear issue
for a better position for America. And they said no
15-year
still.
freeze and the 60% enrichment, and
they
then it
still
goes
said
back
no.
down to 3%. I don't think that Donald Trump is going to allow that to happen. That's way worse than the deal that he was offered in Oman, and that's way worse than the Iranian nuclear deal that was brokered by Barack Obama in 2016, the JCPOA. So, bunch of things here that just kind of lead me to believe this may not be the end. Don't listen to Donald Trump. What have you learned at this point?
He's a fucking
if you
idiot.
still listen to Donald Trump, you've learned nothing anymore.
Yeah, he's a
because
fucking
he's lied
idiot, bro. He's a
profusely
fucking
for the
idiot.
last 70 days. So I really wouldn't listen to him. I would pay attention to what's happening on the ground. I would pay attention to the spokespeople from Iran because they've been more transparent. They've got no reason to lie. They're defending themselves. For us, we're the aggressor. So we always have to make things seem like they're working in our favor because we started the war. For them, doesn't matter whether things are working in their favor or not. They're defending themselves, right? And they do have that right of self-defense. So for them, they're going to be transparent about what's happening on the ground. They're going to be transparent about the negotiations. They're going to be transparent about their plans because they haven't attacked anybody, right? So they don't have this moral high ground to try and defend constantly or try and upkeep or uphold, which is we must continue this campaign because we're so close to our goals. That's what the US has to do. They don't have to do that. They're just telling you, hey, we're sitting back. We're defending ourselves. We blocked the strait so we can have some sort of leverage in this war because the United States is so much stronger than us. And this is what's happened so far. And this is what we're asking for. And this is what we're looking for in order to stop the war entirely and open up the strait. So, you know, not the best thing, but I mean, can you believe it? You know, he was so confident about Operation Freedom. Didn't get him so far, did it? And by the way, the Washington Post had just announced, and I have to pay for this article, but it says Iran has hit far more U.S. military assets than reported satellite images show. What do we got?
Bro. It just shows that they keep their big liars, bro. They said, yeah, they haven't done nothing, bro.
Guys tell you they've destroyed so much of our military infrastructure belonging to these several Gulf countries. In Bahrain, in Kuwait, in the UAE, in Saudi Arabia, the Prince Sultan Air Base, which is what Saudi Arabia blocked the United States from utilizing in Operation Freedom, which is likely why it failed or stopped happening. Donald Trump said that they had to pause it. And some of this was done by their Air Force, which we allegedly destroyed. That's what these reports are saying. So this was him on Sunday, and I went over this. But he pretty much says countries from all over the world are suffering, so we're going to get involved. Operation Freedom, we're going to open up the strait. Okay?
Which didn't work.
That was that. And then, after that, this was him talking about what Iran was doing in response to that operation. So, this reads here, Iran has taken some shots at unrelated nations with respect to the ship movement Project Freedom, including a South Korean cargo ship. Perhaps it's time for South Korea to come and join the mission. We've shot down...
Bro, how many countries do you want them to be part of the fucking, like, the problem that you caused? But now you want South Korea to be part of the fucking problem? What the fuck is wrong with you? Bro, this guy is stupid. What's your problem? You want NATO to be part of the problem? You want fucking Korea to be part of the problem? Like, how many people? How many? You want the whole world to fucking go against our fucking Iran, bro? What is wrong with you?
7 small boats, or as they like to call them, fast boats. It's all they have left. Other than the South Korean ship,
So
there has
dumb.
been at this moment no damage going through the strait. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Dan Kane will have a news conference tomorrow morning. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Trump. Okay, and then
Well, like, what the fuck?
look on this. I mean, look at the shift. This is yesterday at 6:52. So in the evening, he says, based on the request of Pakistan and other countries, the tremendous military success that we have had during the campaign against the country of Iran, and additionally, the fact that great progress has been made towards a complete and final agreement with the representatives of Iran, we have mutually
So
agreed
dumb.
while the blockade will remain in full force and effect, which is what's keeping the strait blocked, by the way, is our blockade on their ports. But anyways, Project Freedom, the movement of ships through the Strait of Hormuz, will be paused for a short period of time to see whether or not agreement can be finalized and signed. President Donald J. Trump.
It's like a do not disturb setting for your mind, and it gets you focused
so
in
dumb.
just 5 minutes. Using science.
We don't care.
Come on, bro. Talk about a paper tiger.
Like, bro, you cannot just say that. There's no way you announce a project, one day later, you say, yeah, we're gonna do this. We're gonna try to help South Korea. South Korea then tries to provoke South Korea to be part of the problem. Or to be in the middle of the fucking war. And then in the same day in the afternoon, they say that they're gonna pause the fucking... Like, bro, like, come on. Like, come on. Like, come on, bro. Come on. This fucking guy, I swear.
He's calling NATO paper tigers. And pay attention to the hypocrisy here.
The fucking
Iran
idiot.
proposed 14 points that they were willing to talk about to the United States, and it was sent to Washington. Donald Trump said publicly, I'm reviewing it. I don't know if it will be acceptable. Obviously, the plan was comprised of way too many maximalist demands that Donald Trump could not concede to. That's why he launched Operation Freedom. So you're telling me after a day of being in this operation and realizing it's not going to work and it's probably going to skyrocket oil prices because danger in the strait is going to be higher than it previously was, now you're ending the operation. That's why you're ending the operation, because you realize you're actually going to exacerbate the existing issue already.
That's so dumb.
But instead, he uses the false notion that we're ending the operation because we actually have something with a peace deal now. No, you don't. You just said
so
2 days
dumb.
ago that their terms are likely unacceptable.
Bro, the contradiction is so fucking dumb. It's so dumb. You said like a couple of days ago that you said no, and now you saying actually wait, what? Like, so stupid.
And then you announce
It's
this
so
operation,
stupid.
which is to me an
It's so
implication
fucking stupid.
that there is no such possible road to success out of these peace talks or out of the 14-point
So
stipulation.
dumb, bro.
And so that's why you started this. Now you're ending it because there's some success and maybe an agreement can be finalized and signed in the next few days.
Makes no sense.
So it's like, what are we doing here?
Contradicting,
You
bro.
know?
Just
What are
playing
we doing?
stupid fucking game.
And this is what I say. I'm telling you guys always, they're lying to you in your face. They're fooling you. And they're banking on you to be dumb enough to actually believe the bullshit. That's that. And I mean, what bigger tell that we don't know what we're doing? And then he tweeted this today. This was earlier this morning.
Another
at about
tweet, of course,
7:41
another one.
approximately. Or no, exactly 7:41. I was right. Assuming Iran agrees to give what has been agreed to, which is perhaps a big assumption, the already legendary Epic Fury will be at an end, and the highly effective blockade will allow the Hormuz Strait to be open to all, including Iran. Like, I like how he's talking about the Hormuz Strait being open to Iran as if they're not the ones
they're the
blocking it.
ones blocking it.
Okay, Mr. President. I don't know
That's
what he's
stupid.
talking about there.
Like, what the fuck?
If they don't agree, the bombing starts, and it will be sadly at a much higher level and intensity than it was before. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President J. Trump, Donald J. Trump. So this starts off by him saying, assuming Iran agrees to give what has been agreed to. So whatever that means, really.
I'm 42, high IQ, Everyone said I'd be successful. Instead, I scroll for hours.
Nice AI. But bro, like, it's just stupid to me. It just makes no fucking sense. It just makes no sense, bro. That guy's a fucking idiot. It's a fucking goddamn idiot. A child taking care of a fucking country.
Rubio was kind of flirting with the idea that this is over. Pete Hegseth was talking about it in some detail as well, but we'll look at just clips of what they were really talking about. We won't watch it in full.
And with that, it's time for your questions. So, Catherine, why don't we start with you first?
Hi, Catherine Herridge. I'm an independent journalist. Secretary Rubio, have you
Let me see if I can turn captions on for you guys. There you go.
seen any recent indications that Iran is willing to give up its nuclear weapons program that is credible, verifiable, and that would lead to an immediate de-escalation?
Well, look, this is a long-standing problem for them, right? I mean, they have wanted, they have always said they don't want a nuclear weapon. That's because they've always said that, they just don't mean it. And why do you say, well, how do you know they don't mean it? Well, we don't mean it because they're doing all the things, and historically have tried to do all the things that you do if you want a nuclear weapons program. For example, they innovate and try to innovate long-range delivery missiles that now, in some cases, are capable of reaching much of Europe. They're
mid-range, they're not long-range.
They build.
Whoa, what?
Build these large underground centrifuges for enrichment activity. There are countries.
Wait, so you just confirmed that you didn't destroy the nuclear? You just said they're on the ground. Like then what are you doing? So you said at the beginning you destroyed them, then you said you need to destroy them, and now you're saying they're underground, so you didn't destroy that 100%. So which one are they? So you just confirmed that they are underground. Thank you, bro.
In the world that are involved in the enrichment business, but these guys do it in mountains and in caves and in hiding. They've always had secret components of their nuclear program undisclosed.
Maybe it's because you've imposed sanctions on them for the last 40+ years and threatened to bomb them all the time, and Israel's always poking fun at the matter. And then you guys actually did it, so you vindicated them in building these things inside of mountains. Maybe that's why. And in regards to the whole nuclear situation, they say they're not going to build a nuke, but they absolutely were planning on building a nuke. Again, the IRGC, Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, is a religious military faction that is comprised of religious Shiite Muslim zealots that adhere to their religion pretty closely, which is why they're so hell-bent on this idea of martyrdom in the right to reserve their freedom. And their leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, has said in several statements the building and production of a nuclear weapon is haram or forbidden because of the mass destruction that it can invoke on a civilian populous nation or a civilian population as a whole. That's been the whole thing. So we know they weren't going to actually build one. However, they were enriching to a high degree, well over 30%. They were enriching at 60%. But we had addressed that concern, and this is how you know they're bullshitting. We addressed the 60% issue by bringing them back down to 3% in 2015 and 2016 with the original Iranian nuclear deal. Donald Trump destroyed that in 2018. Exactly.
He came
into office in 2016,
Israel, by the way,
and about a year and a half later, him and Mike Pompeo, the director of CIA, had greenlit the IRGC as a terrorist organization. So they removed or they imposed sanctions on Iran, they tarnished the deal, they greenlit all their leaders as terrorists, and then they went on to systematically kill high-ranking leaders in the IRGC over the next few years. The pager attack in Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah being the leader of Hezbollah in 2024, as well as Qasem Soleimani prior to that in 2020. So they killed all these guys systematically in order to open the door and make it a little bit easier for an entry into Iran and seizing that quote-unquote uranium, overthrowing the regime, which is the goal of Israel as regime change. That's the whole goal. Iran could have made a nuke a long time ago.
Yeah, they could have done it.
Any expert would tell you this. They were not making a nuke. They were never going to make a nuke. The only thing that would push them in direction of making a nuke is killing the guy who had the religious authority to say no nukes, and then having his more extreme son succeed him as you are threatening their sovereignty. That's going to make them race to a nuke.
That's probably what they,
if
that's
anything,
what they did.
Is going to make them get a nuke. That's the perfect recipe. What we've done in the last 70 days.
It's exactly.
And I've said this ad nauseum. If there's any time Iran is likely to build a nuke, It's now, as I'm talking to you.
Probably,
because
yeah.
they're in the midst of a ceasefire that is super fragile and can end in a moment. Israel is continuously bombing Lebanon, southern Lebanon. They're desecrating Jesus statues. They're making the matter so much worse. And
Yeah,
then on top of that, they
that's
just bombed a...
That's what pisses me off the most. They're like, it's why attacking our Christian? Why attacking our religion on top of everything? What's the point? Why are you doing it? It just shows that they are not good. There's no good faith there. These Jews, Zionists, they need to get the fuck out of here. Fucking disappointment. All of them are disappointment. You're nobody. All of you are nobody. You're no fucking chosen people. Because if you really were the chosen people, you showed a good example. All you've been doing, going with wars with everybody, and creating conflict everywhere, and trying to control everything. All of you need to get the fuck out of here. Pieces of shit.
Province south of Beirut, or a suburb of Beirut.
Fucking
and
shame.
So you look at all of these things, and you look at the fact that Donald Trump is trying to repair the matter, but it's not really working. I mean, use your brain here. It's pretty obvious that we very well may go back to war. Iran knows that better than I do, probably better than you do. Maybe they have intelligence advances because they get their intelligence from Russia, or they get some sort of strategic go-ahead from China. Those are countries that they're strategically allied with. And so maybe in waiting for Washington to attack again or Israel to attack again, they're increasing their enrichment of uranium.
Yeah, probably.
It's a possibility.
Probably.
So everything he's saying is not only backwards, but goes against the war. If your goal is no nukes, well, then you should have tried to exercise diplomacy before killing every single ranking military official for 60 days straight.
True.
You're one sentence away from launching your website with Base 44. Since the beginning of the internet, there's never been such a
care.
Goes to the world, and we know for a fact that they retain highly enriched uranium at 60%. That they did so, and that has no civilian use, none, zero whatsoever. So they have an opportunity here to agree to something that will make it clear that they're not interested in. One thing is to say we don't want a nuclear weapon. Another thing is to do the things that prove you don't want a nuclear weapon. By the way, if what Iran wants is...
But they've done that. I just said that. They've done that.
They've done it.
They've done that, but they've done it with the United States also making an agreement that we will remove economic sanctions. Our sanctions have crippled their economy and brought them to a record high level of inflation, which, by the way, doesn't just disrupt the government, it disrupts the civilian population far more. And so when there's high inflation and the economy is not stable, those people revolt against the government and they fight back. That's a part of the elaborate plan by the United States. You impose sanctions, you make the country suffer, you turn the populace against the government, and you get them to overthrow the regime. Maybe you do a little CIA Mossad meddling in there to exacerbate the matter and
that's pretty much what they do.
Make it faster. And then from there, you get your organic regime change. We've done this several times. This is kind of like the recipe of regime change that the United States has strategized and utilized for several years now. And the CIA has always been behind it, and they're experts at it. That's what we tried. That's why we imposed sanctions. Everything Donald Trump did from 2018 and destroying the deal, killing the leaders, IRGC being a terrorist organization, all of these things he did were an escalation ladder to eventually land us in a position where we can overthrow the regime like that. Didn't work. We tried it in January when we had CIA agents and Mossad agents walking alongside every single protester in Iran. Remember that? Mike Pompeo tweeted it. Former director of CIA, Trump's right-hand man likely at that time, said Mossad agents are walking alongside every single Iranian protester, meaning we are invoking and pushing our intelligence assets into your protests that have been caused by our economic pressure against you and our sanctions so we can change your regime. Didn't work. The IRGC saw it coming, shut it down. That's why we had to go to war. And you had the fact that we attacked them back in the summer, didn't do anything, summer of last year. Operation Midnight Hammer, Operation Rising Line, the 12-day war.
Didn't work.
We were,
by the way, it did not work.
Israel was fighting them for 12 days. That didn't do anything. And then we had to end the matter because Israel was actually suffering as a result.
There were injuries. Don't tell me, is this a bot? Yeah, whoever guessed it's a fucking bot. Like how many times I'm gonna receive these stupid fucking messages, bro? Like, How many fucking times? How many times am I gonna get these stupid fucking messages, bruv? You know what? I'm gonna get a cup of water and maybe a snack or some shit. I'll come back in a second. Okay, I'm back. Got a cup of lemon juice and a little snack. Some cookies, I guess. Like, not really cookies. Still a little snack. There you go.
They found out about the ballistic missiles program, and then what happened from there? We hit their nuclear facilities, Natanz, Fordo, Isfahan, and Donald Trump said that we obliterated their nuclear program. And then we went to war again. But I thought we obliterated the nuclear program. We went to war just a year later. Why? Because Benjamin Netanyahu was concerned about the ballistic missiles program. They knew it existed, but they saw the damage it did in the 12-day war and likely told the president, we cannot let them build this up any stronger than it already exists. We can't let them stockpile these missiles. We have to stop the regime now. Because if we don't stop them, and if we don't halt their military advancement, they will get to the point where they can genuinely threaten our sovereignty, even if you intervene. And so Donald Trump was convinced and sold to start this war to save them, as well as the proxy network, but really the missiles. So we're starting this war, not for nukes, it's for Israel's security, and to get rid of the ballistic missiles program, which is the biggest threat to their security, not the nuclear program. Because
it's Israel. We all know that. We all know that.
And unfortunately, I'd have to add yet at this point, because chances are, if we don't continue war, or if we don't get some deal where they'll agree not to make a bomb, they very well may have one. So now we have to introduce the frightening word of yet, because I don't want them to have a nuclear bomb either. But everything we're doing is making that far more likely than it ever was.
The civilian nuclear program for power plants and stuff like that, there are a lot of countries in the world that have that, and they don't enrich. They import the enriched material. You know, they could have that if that's what they wanted, but they're not acting like that's what they wanted. They're acting like they want a military, nuclear program. That's unacceptable. So that's the process we're engaged in now. To create, that's the object of this diplomacy, is to come up with some level of understanding about what are the topics that they've agreed to negotiate on. We don't have to have the actual agreement written out, and one day this is highly complex and highly technical. But we have to have a diplomatic solution that is very clear about the topics that they are willing to negotiate on and the extent and the concessions they're willing to make at the front end in order to make those talks worthwhile. That's what Stephen Jarrett and the whole team is working on, and I hope to have good news on it. That's the outcome we would prefer. That's the outcome we would have preferred a year ago. That's the.
If it was, you would have
If
never
it was,
attacked them.
yeah.
That's not the outcome.
If it was, you would never attack
The
them.
outcome
Yeah,
I think
true.
most of us would have preferred a long time ago. But that's not the option they've given us given their activity. All right, can I? There's no.
And what this is,
So dumb.
is this entire administration.
So fucking dumb.
This is their cover-up because what they really want is a regime change. Okay?
Yep.
They want to change the IRGC. They want to remove the current leaders. They want the country to run in a completely different way where there's a U.S.-Israeli-backed leader in charge. That's what they want. But
True.
since they cannot publicly say that and expose themselves, they have to run with this lie that it's all about the nukes. If it was
True.
all about the nukes, then we would have taken care of that by extending the JCPOA.
True.
Or conceding to the deal made to us in Oman previously. If it was about the nukes, then we would have just called up Iran and said, hey, can you chill out with the 60%? We'll release sanctions. But you can't fund your proxies. Maybe we would have added some stipulation like that. This is for regime change. That's what they really want. The nuke is a false pretext because the proof in that is if we wanted to address the nuclear situation, we would not have attacked them. There would have been several other ways to handle that issue. Because now we're in a situation where there's no off-ramp.
True.
Way I can figure out who to call on. I'm just gonna like press right in the middle, right there. You right there, yeah. Right in the back row.
Thank you, Mr. President.
I'll go to you next. I can't get everything. You know that. All right, go ahead.
Thank you, Secretary Rubio.
Keep going
Welcome-
right.
Welcome to the White House.
What's that?
Talking to me, sir?
Yeah, to you, yes, sir.
Thank you.
1 second, let me just move this tab over, guys. Okay.
I have two questions on two separate issues that
Do
come
they
under...
get two questions for these?
Two questions that-
There's a lot of people in here.
that
man.
fall under your umbrella. The
All right,
first-
well, you answer. You can ask me two questions. I'll give you one answer. Go
Thank you
ahead.
very much. I appreciate
And I'll pick the one I like better.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. The first has to do with the blockade. There are lawmakers from both parties who claim the blockade is an act of war. What do you say to that? And my second question
It is.
has to do
Because economically you're attempting to make that country suffer.
with the fuel embargo of Cuba. How long, Mr. Secretary, will that last?
Okay, two things. All right, good. I'll answer both your questions because I like the second one too. The first one on the blockade. And so why do we have a blockade? We have a blockade because they shut down the straits. So I don't know which members of Congress you're talking to, but here's what I would ask them. I would ask everybody here. It's very simple. These guys have shut down the Straits of Hormuz. This is what Iran is saying. We will shut down the straits. No one can go through. No country in the world can go through unless we allow you to go through, and you have to pay us. But our ships can go through, meaning the Iranian ships, as much as they want. That's crazy. Who would agree to that? So how are we going to have a situation where they get to close the straits to everybody, and the only people who are allowed to go through there 100% without paying anything are the Iranians? If you do that, they'll keep...
Bro, it's their strait. What do you expect them to do for them to pay as well? What? Stupid.
the straits closed forever. They're trying to make this some new normal. Okay, under no circumstances can we ever allow them to normal.
But you motivated that new normal.
Yeah, you made
by attacking them with no warning.
by
and killing
attacking
their
them, you
leader.
make it worse. Yeah.
Let me ask you this. If the United States was attacked out of nowhere and Donald Trump was killed, and we had a strait that we can control, a small passageway of water responsible for global export and import even, and we took control of it, would we be wrong in doing that to defend ourselves? I mean, really? Really? I don't want the strait to be blocked, especially by Iran, but what else are they going to do? Fight back against the US? Hit the US and on their soil? They don't even have the ability to do that. So, I mean, really no other option exists for them except that. And they're doing it now for an extended period of time, if not forever, because one, that's their waters. Iran and Oman have always controlled the strait, but now they're going to have to use it for economic leverage because you've imposed sanctions and you've probably caused billions of dollars in damage by striking them, which has done nothing to actually stop the regime.
True.
Monumental failure.
Normalize the fact that they get to blow up commercial ships and put mines in the water. So the response to that is we're going to blockade your ships. If everyone's ships are not getting out, your
because that works, right?
Ships are not getting out.
And that didn't work, by the
That's
way.
not an act of war. That's a
It didn't work.
defensive measure. It's a counter to what they have decided to do.
Not when they open up the strait. 3 Fridays ago, the foreign minister said, the Strait of Hormuz is now open. We're going to allow ships to pass through. And then after that, Donald Trump imposed a naval blockade on their ports so they could not export oil and make money. So who is the aggressor?
America.
Donald Trump had to do something before they opened up the strait and effectively ended the conflict so that he could look like he still has the advantage or the head on. He could look like he still has control of the situation.
So fucking stupid.
So this has all stemmed from, and I've said this before, this stems from Donald Trump playing like he has control. He doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, he knows
because they
nothing at this
opened
point.
the strait and they closed it again because we blocked their ports.
That's so
which is an
stupid.
act of war.
If they didn't block this, literally, if they didn't block the ports, probably the strait would still be open. Oh, sorry. And there would be oil going. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oil will be going towards the countries, respective countries, and the price would go down and be able to stabilize. But Trump is retarded, and they clearly doesn't have a brain.
So, I'm sorry. You blocked the blockade so that they can suffer too? Why? They opened it. Because you guys don't want to look like losers. You guys don't want to look like idiots, but that's what you are. You're all idiots. You all have no idea what you're doing. If you had any semblance of a good idea, you would have exercised diplomacy with Iran without Israel coddling you in the White House and getting in your ear, making you exercise bad decisions like striking them out of nowhere and killing their leader. Because now we forfeited our rights to make any demands that are near maximal. That's just the facts. We had far more of a likelihood or far more of a greater ability in getting Israel to concede to our demands before striking them. But no, you let Netanyahu come to the White House 7 fucking times since the beginning of this administration and convince Donald Trump to start a war that his intelligence community told him would be a disastrous idea. Tulsi Gabbard a year ago told Congress, the director of intelligence of the intelligence community.
Sorry guys, I see a little mosquito, I'm gonna fucking kill that shit. I think I killed it. See a little mosquito. I hate mosquitoes, bro. As soon as I see a mosquito, a little one or like a big one, I fucking kill it. My mission is immediately to kill it. Fuck them, bro. Fuck these mosquitoes. Alright, let's keep going.
Director of National Intelligence told Congress Iran is not planning on making a nuke. That is per their religious fatwa. And they've been stuck at 60% for the longest period of time. And they have not gone up. And we're watching. So exactly how were they close to making a nuke? How are they a week away? How are they a month away? Per Stephen Witkoff and Jared Kushner and Mark Levin. That's what all these guys are saying. But really, everything you're saying falls flat on his face when we look at the facts. But more importantly, the whole blockade situation, because that's relevant currently, the whole blockade situation has also been caused by us. Because even after the war started, they were willing to open it. And then we showed we're bad faith actors by closing their ports for what? So we can look like the stronger force? Or maybe it's to stay in the war. And that's potentially what's being happened. I mean, you look at all the facts here. Operation Freedom fails. Donald Trump can't come to the table about peace. Jared Kushner, Stephen Witkoff, and JD Vance go to the Middle East. No peace is able to be met. No peace deal actually agreed upon after 48 hours of negotiations or 24 hours or something like that. And then we block their blockade after they open up the strait. It seems like we continuously keep hitting the iron while it's hot. And the reason why we're doing that could be just because of the fact that we want to get back into war. We're just gathering ourselves before we do a second start or we restart the war. That's what it seems like. Because if we wanted peace, shouldn't we have not blocked their ports?
Yeah, I was about to say, if
they
wanted peace, peace would have been, a peace treaty would have been literally accepted by both parties by now.
And in the 14-point proposal that was actually reasonable.
Yeah, they could have done it.
Shouldn't we have a Middle Eastern delegation in the Middle East right now, talking to them constantly on the phone with them? I mean, it almost seems like we are stretching this so that we can continuously stay in this economic war with them and eventually go back to kinetic. That's what it seems like on its face. I don't think I'm crazy for assuming that.
You know what is an act of war? Putting mines in the water. Why don't the members of Congress, whoever it is complaining about it, they should be all over that. These guys put mines in the water. That alone, mining in the water is illegal, period, under any circumstances, and they've done it. This is crazy stuff, but this is what they've done on Cuba.
They opened the strait, bro. If you never put your fucking blockade, everyone would be happy. But you decide to do dumb shit, and you're getting the consequences. Simple as that. You're not gonna do dumb shit and not get the consequences. And you get the fuck out of my fucking stream. You're like the fucking fourth fucking person, or more like bot, that appears on my stream promoted this dumb shit. I don't care. Get the fuck out.
Oil blockade on Cuba. There's no oil blockade on Cuba per se. Here's what's happening with Cuba, okay? Cuba used to get free oil.
Yes, there is, though. What is he talking about?
There's a blockade.
You destroyed Venezuela, which was the main powerhouse for exporting oil to Cuba, and then you threatened Mexico with tariffs if they give Cuba any more oil, which what they were planning on doing. So you are blocking oil from them. That's exactly what you've done.
Porn addiction turns high IQ men into silent underachievers. They're highly intelligent, always told they had so much potential.
We don't give a shit.
Why is he lying? He's such a liar.
What the heck
From Venezuela, used to give them a bunch of free oil. They would take like 60% of that oil and resell it for cash. It wouldn't even go to benefit the people. So the only blockade that's happened is the Cubans have decided, the Venezuelans have decided, we're not giving you free oil anymore. And you can only imagine nowadays, the way oil prices are, no one's giving away free oil, much less to a failed regime. So the problem with Cuba is worse, okay? Their economic model doesn't work. And the people who are in charge can't fix it. And the reason that I can't fix it is not just because they're communists, that's bad enough, but they're incompetent communists. The only thing worse than a communist is an incompetent one. And that's what, so incompetent communists run that country, they don't know how to fix it. They really don't. And we have 90 miles from our shores, a failed state that also happens to be friendly territory for some of our adversaries. So it's an unacceptable status.
Are we still going to do the Soviet Union influence in the Caribbean thing? Come on.
This is so cool.
I will be addressing it, but not today. Okay. All right, let's go to the front, right there.
Secretary Rubio.
Yeah.
You are going to the Vatican to meet with the Pope. Is this an attempt to smooth things over?
Yes, it's damage control because Donald Trump has been shitting on Catholicism and the Pope for the last 3 weeks.
And it's the audacity that they... If I was a Pope, I would never accept this shit. What? Bro, you shit on your own fucking religion, and you have the audacity. Oh, hey, bro, you know what? No, let's come to an agreement now. Like, bro, who the fuck you think you are? You clearly are a Zionist. Get the fuck out of here.
Given the rhetoric between President Trump and Pope Leo.
No, it's a trip we had planned from before, and obviously we had some stuff that happened. And no, look, there's a lot to talk about with the Vatican. I'll give you one example. The Pope just returned from a trip to Africa, where the church is growing very vibrantly. And we have shared concerns about religious freedom, freedom in different parts of the world. We'd love to talk to them about that. The topic of Cuba, we gave Cuba $6 million of humanitarian aid, but obviously they won't let us distribute it. We distributed it through the church. We'd like to do more. We're willing to give more humanitarian aid to Cuba, by the way, distributed through the church, but the Cuban regime has to allow us to do it. They won't allow us to give their own people more humanitarian aid, and we're willing to do it.
If they don't allow it, it's because there's another reason. Probably. Because, let's be honest here. If it's really what you're saying, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't have fucking... They would have allowed it. But clearly it's not, because they're not allowing it. They're not allowing it. There is a reason, probably. But you don't want to say it.
Through the church.
You want to lie.
So there's a lot to talk about.
And the president recently said that the Pope is endangering a lot of Catholics as a result of his rhetoric around the Iran war. Is that a sentiment?
Well, I don't think that's an accurate description of what he said. I think what the president basically said is that Iran can't have a nuclear weapon because they would use it against places that have a lot of Catholics and Christians and others, for that matter. It goes back to the central point. I think the president, without trying to speak for him, but I think I can characterize it this way. He doesn't understand why anybody, leave aside the Pope, the president, and I, for that matter, I think most people, I cannot understand why anyone would think that it's a good idea for Iran to ever have a nuclear weapon. Look what they're doing with the Straits right now.
Oh my God, I'm gonna crash out. I'm gonna crash out.
He's talking about the same shit and he keeps lying.
It's like a script. He's a robot. Hey, buddy, they weren't going to make one. And you could have diffused the matter without bombing them. Goodness, there's no way he's repeated himself this many times. Can we get better questions?
They're holding the whole world hostage. They have these sailors, on commercial ships that are going to starve to death out there. They don't care. They don't care that this is melting down the economies around the world, even if they're...
Why would they care about? I'm sorry. You're Iran. The United States and Israel is bombing the shit out of you. And your concern is, oh no, are the people manning these ships, do they have food?
Bro.
What? Their sovereignty, their way of life. This is an existential threat. They could potentially be removed from power. Donald Trump said that he's going to send them back to the Stone Age. He said he's going to end a whole civilization tonight. Hello. We are threatening to genocide these people, yet they still have to exercise the ability and being concerned about these oil ships having food? What are you talking about? Trump threatened to bomb their power plants twice and send the country into a catastrophic, cataclysmic period of blackout. I mean, these are the threats that the current sitting US president is hurling over at Iran as he's attacking them, as he's blocking their ports, and they're supposed to be worried about guys getting food in the Strait of Hormuz? Give me a break. Give me a break.
It's so dumb. It's so fucking dumb.
Trying to play the moral high ground when you started a war for Israel doesn't work.
That's so
really
dumb.
Doesn't.
Our own allies. This is what they're doing with the Straits. What do you think they would do if they had a nuclear weapon? They would hold the world hostage with that nuclear weapon.
But Israel has a nuclear weapon. And they actually hold us hostage with their nuclear weapon. Because back in the 70s, when they were at war with Egypt and Syria, funded by the Soviets, they were whooping Israel's ass. And Israel said, if you don't give us to the United States, they told Nixon, the current president at the time, if you don't give us military aid and a military embargo, or a military weapon, we will nuke these Arab countries. So I'm sorry, who actually holds other people in the world hostage with a nuclear threat? It's Israel. And John Kiriakou, for what it's worth, I'll mention this as well, had said and expressed the idea, or the speculation, that Operation Midnight Hammer was because during the 12-day war, Israel threatened Donald Trump that he would nuke Iran. So Donald Trump had to get involved and stop everything and bomb Iran and end the conflict and threaten them with a US invasion or a US intervention before they continuously destroyed Israel. So who actually let...
Bruh.
leverages a nuclear threat against the world? It's not Iran. They don't even have a nuke. Look at how he's lying through his teeth. He's out of his mind. He's out of his mind. He's a liar. And these people are all deranged. How can you lie this much?
That's what they would do. They would do exactly to the world with a nuclear weapon what they're doing now with the Straits. And I think the president's point is how anyone cannot see that as an unacceptable outcome, an unacceptable risk is beyond him. It's puzzling. And someone has to do something about it. The difference between this president and like the 6 presidents that preceded him were that he's the only one that's actually been willing to do something about it. Everyone says Iran can't have a nuclear weapon, but you got to do something about it at some point.
No. You don't have to do anything about it. You know why?
Negotiate.
Because they weren't going to make one. And that's why every president...
And not just that, they went through negotiations so they wouldn't do one. With the previous presidents. Like, bro, like, the fuck?
The president said, yeah, they can't have one. Doesn't look like they're making one, so we're not too concerned. Yeah, they're hedging. Yeah, they're getting close. Yeah, no country historically has gone over 30 and not made one. I understand that. But Obama was concerned about that, and he issued the Iranian nuclear deal that several countries were on board about.
Except
NATO, EU, China, Russia.
Except
everybody
2 countries,
loved it.
Israel
Donald
and
Trump
America.
hated it. So no, it's not that the last few presidents were not smart enough to handle the Iranian issue. They were not dumb enough to start a regional mess. That's first.
Yep.
Secondly, they were also not dumb enough to listen to Benjamin Netanyahu. Because again, per former CIA officers, John Kiriakou and others have said this, Benjamin Netanyahu and other Israeli officials have been begging the last 4 or 5 sitting US presidents to bomb Iran. And every single president said, that's beyond the pale. I'm not going that far. Because they knew what would happen. And now look at the reality. We can't even launch Operation Freedom, where we want to guide ships through the Strait of Hormuz for our own economic relief because Kuwait and Saudi Arabia said, fuck off, you can't use our bases or our airspace anymore, you've caused a regional mess. So we've forfeited our existence in the Middle East by starting this conflict. Again, a regional war. What happens when this is all said and done with? Will we have bases in the Middle East? Will we have any presence in the Middle East?
No, you
which
won't.
is a pivotal region in the world? The petrodollar, what happens?
Oh yeah, I was about to say the petrodollar is probably going to be disappear.
It's going to be the yuan dollar soon. BRICS is going to take control. And that's the main commodity that drives US power, is our petrodollar. Reserve currency status, hello? It's never been at risk like it is currently. And if we lose our relationships with all of these Gulf countries, then that really manifests or materializes into a potential reality in the next 5 to 10 years. Couple in the fact that China's also advancing faster than they ever have.
Well,
Couple in the fact that reserves...
honestly, I think China is advancing very fast. Like, to the point where it's becoming menacing. And when I say menacing, I say menacing towards America. That's what I mean by that. They are... Whoo, they're in a good position. That's what I'm saying.
Oil and Russia making money on gas has been exponentially greater than it has been before because we've released sanctions on them as a result from the economic pressure this war has introduced. But the nukes, worry about the nukes because the nukes are all that you need to think about. Not the fact that we don't have any power in the Gulf anymore. Not the fact that MBS is probably frustrated with the President of the United States. No. Just worry about enrichment.
And he's been willing to address that threat. And that's what he promised he would do when he got elected, by the way, is address threats.
He did not. He said the opposite. He never said he wanted to go to war. He said he didn't want to create any other war. What? What the fuck he want about? He literally said he would never do wars. Like this. What the fuck, bro?
He promised when he'd get elected that he would start no new wars. He started a brand new war.
What the fuck, bro? This guy is a piece of shit liar.
Can you put name tags on?
Thank you so much, Mr.
Okay.
Secretary.
Who are you with? Who are you with?
I'm with Rudao Media Network.
Okay.
Mr. Secretary, the President has said multiple times that weapons were provided to the Kurdish groups to pass on the Iranian people. However, Kurdish political parties and the regional government says they have not received such weapons. Even some claim these weapons remain in the US base in the region. Can you clarify who those weapons were given to and whether you intend to retrieve them or still want to pass to the Iranian people?
Yeah, look, ultimately, what the President is expressing, and I think has repeatedly, is he wished the Iranian people had, look, he's heartbroken by these images. You think about it, you're an Iranian, okay? You're unhappy that...
Stop lying, bro. He clearly does not fucking care. If he really cared, he would never done this fucking war. Bro, stop it. Stop lying, bro.
Your economy doesn't work for you. You don't have freedom. You don't have an opportunity to express yourself.
Yeah, but... I hate this fucking guy,
you've got friends that have been shot in the head because they're out protesting. And he just...
No, first of all, the people that were shot in the head were Maasai Asians. Okay, so first of all, not really Iranians. They were there to create chaos. Second of all, you're the one who collapsed their economy. America was the one that collapsed the fucking economy. Like, what? What is this guy on about?
It's heartbreaking to him to see that these people are abused in this way and have no measures to take against their own government as a result of it.
Bro,
maybe I'll stop playing these videos.
Red is so tired.
Because I'm like having to go all the way back to square one.
Same shit, yeah, true.
Yeah, okay, Iranians getting shot in the head because they're protesting. Because we were involved. Because we were making the matter worse. We threatened regime change via an organic uprising of the civilian population. Which is arguably not even that many people, because at this point, we've probably shifted everybody's opinion from being against the IRGC to in support of the IRGC if it means no Israeli leader being in charge of Iran. So those protests and us being involved did nothing. The IRGC shut it down. You want to talk about people getting shot in the back of the head? How about the Palestinians who are trying to rush to aid during a starvation that was imposed intentionally by Israel, and families are being shot for collecting flour? How about that?
That's so...
You never spoke about that. Donald Trump never acknowledged that. That was done by our best buddies, Israel and the IDF. The other day in the West Bank, some kid was shot in the head after, I believe, his wife delivered a baby. I mean, these stories...
Bro, Bro, yeah, like these Zionists, and they need to go to hell, bro. I'm sorry, they need to go to hell. They need to go to hell. Get the fuck out of here, bro. They need to go to hell. They need to go to hell. What the fuck did I just heard with my own ears? What the fuck?
Stories are all over the place. These stories are all over the place. You want to talk about a brutal regime? How about Israeli settlers getting into the West Bank? The IDF lets them. They admitted that to CNN, even though it's illegal according to international law and Israeli law. They took a Palestinian, tied his genitals up, tied his hands behind his back, and paraded him to his village. I'm not even kidding.
And they say that Iran is bad.
Getting ass naked. This is the sick demonic shit they do to Palestinians in the West Bank. And we're talking about humanitarian rights and people being able to express themselves. Hello, they kill their livestock. They burn their houses down.
That's so
they shoot kids in the back of the head at military checkpoints after telling them to turn around, wait for them to get far enough, and then shoot them in the back as a joke. And they laugh about it and they post it online.
That's, bro, they need to go to hell. 100%.
And we're talking about humanitarian rights. Look, the IRGC is not an innocent regime, but if we're going to hold the IRGC accountable, maybe we should do the same thing for the Israeli Defense Force. For somebody saying, source in the chat, check out my last few streams. It was like 2 or 3 streams ago I went over it at the end of the stream. They literally tied a Palestinian man's genitals up and paraded him in the air in front of his family, beat the shit out of him. My buddy who went to the West Bank tried to get into the Holy Mosque, got turned around, and then Israeli soldiers, just for the hell of it, beat the shit out of him with the butts of their guns. Almost killed him. Bruises all over his body when he got back to the United States, after he was questioned for like 7 hours. And
that's
we're talking about brutal regime.
Bro.
We're talking about humanitarian rights. Let's talk about Gaza. Let's talk about the West Bank. Not because I'm being a bleeding heart liberal. I care about those people. Those are my people. But really so you can be morally consistent. Because I'd highlight and expose how you're morally inconsistent.
Bro, bro. How is nobody punishing these stupid fucking people in Israel? How is Israel not getting punished? We punish everyone that is out of line and doing dumb shit and creating chaos and killing people. But why is this stupid fucking country not getting punished? We're like, what the fuck? What did I just heard? That's horrible. You go there and you can die. That's so dumb. And there's no punishment for that.
Because people in the West Bank are suffering, and they've been suffering for years, decades.
Holy shit,
100,000 dead in Gaza. I don't hear anything. All it is Hamas is in the tunnels. Hamas is in the hospitals.
That's not true.
In Lebanon, a guy was in the car with his family. He got a call from Mossad, likely, and they told him, we're going to drone strike your car or you can get out and run so we kill you alone. The decision is yours. The guy jumps out the vehicle and hurtles towards death. I mean, what are we talking about morality for?
By the way, this goes back, if you guys remember the protests in 2009 where they slaughtered people in the street. This is a vicious regime, guys.
Horrible fucking stories, bro. Bro, Israel needs to get fucking punished. They are the ones that need to get, they are the ones that need to get sanctions. They are the ones that need to get the fuck out of this fucking world.
Okay? These are people that hang people from cranes in the town square so everyone can see them.
You want to talk about hanging people? I'll do you one better. Ben Gvir, who is a national security official for Israel, celebrated a law being passed where they can hang Palestinian prisoners after a certain amount of time they spend in prison. I forget the stipulations, but they can pretty much hang Palestinians for no good reason without due process.
Bro, what is wrong with them? Like, it's not even... Are they human at this point? Are they fucking human? Bro, holy shit. I want to go to bed, bro. What the fuck? They have no remorse. Holy shit, bro.
And it's legal now. And do you know how they celebrated that vicious law being passed? Since we're talking about morality, since we're all moral high ground now.
There's no way hanging prisoners become legal. Palestinians that like what the fuck? What is wrong with them? They are actually they're actually the enemy of humanity. Like, I'm sorry, you are. What the fuck?
His wife gave him a birthday cake with a noose on it, and he wears a noose pin everywhere he goes. And we're really talking about morality. But the IRGC hangs people. They tie Palestinian people's balls up and parade them in the air. They burn their livestock to the ground. They explode their homes.
That's fucking unacceptable,
What are you talking about?
What the bro? I want to vomit, bro.
Oh, hi. Would you like a free gift? I'm a missionary.
No, I don't want to free. I want to be fucking be done with this. Like, what the heck is this?
They're parading killing people. And by the way, as a Palestinian in the West Bank, sneezing wrong can get you arrested. So,
wait, excuse me? Sneezing can get you arrested. Where's the logic? What the fuck? Sneezing can get you arrested. Bro, I never want to go to fucking Israel, bro. Fuck these cunts. What the fuck? Hey, bro, if you sneeze wrong, good luck in prison. It's so dumb. It's so fucking dumb. It makes no sense. How are they not getting sanctioned? How are they not getting punished? What, like, where's the fucking... Bro, we have all these people in power that say, yeah, we need to do the right thing. We need to do this and this. But you see this country clearly being the opposite out of everyone. Clearly killing people in the open and publicly promoting that. And somehow they're not getting punished? What the fuck is wrong with our world?
Think about how this law will be abused for the next God knows how many years.
That's so dumb.
We're talking about morality.
That's unacceptable. What the fuck?
But no, you can't say that. You can't say that. You can't say that.
Bro,
So
I'm disgusted. I'm fucking disgusted.
PFF 1974, $5. The propaganda is ambiguous. The Trump administration is sanctioning and bombing the Iranian people, whilst Rubio is saying they need to be freed. Yeah, I mean, really, this is because they all don't know what the hell they're doing. Thanks for the 5. They all have no idea what they're doing there. Rubio and Vance are probably behind closed doors punching the air because they know this war is stupid. So I'm not so dense. I do understand they have to defend the war because the sitting president has charged and launched the war. And so I suppose, to be somewhat gracious to their credit, they have to defend it because they have the idea, or they have the plans of running in 2028, but they can't let this administration crash right now. But at the same time, they're not smart either. JD Vance has echoed for this war to take place for years. JD Vance was previously a never Trumper. JD Vance also said that he wants this war to happen. Now he's walking it back. Now he's trying to be the broker of peace deals. Dumbass flew to Islamabad and got nothing done, flew back, sat at the table for 40 hours, no peace deal, wasn't the hero he tried to pose as. And so I don't really like any of these guys.
Bro.
Look, all these guys want is political power. None of them are ideologically grounded. That's why I don't respect them. I can respect somebody who has a bad ideology, but at least really believes it. None of these guys believe anything they're saying. They just want to have power.
Bro.
They just want to be in the Oval Office. They just want to be in Washington. They want to be in the White House. And so they'll say anything that you need to hear so you can vote for them. That's why I don't like these guys. And I get it. That's politics. It's a vicious game. You have to play the game. But to some degree, can somebody stand on business and say this is stupid? Can somebody be a truth martyr? Please, inside of the White House. Please. Joe Kent's not enough. I need more. And I need more relevant people to do it. The GOP is dead. It's going to crash and burn. You might as well exercise your ability and forfeit now. You might as well get out before it all sinks to the bottom of the ground or the bottom of the ocean. So it's like, bro, I'm not giving him any benefit. And I'm not spazzing on you, by the way. I appreciate your insight with the super chat. I'm just saying, like, I get it. Vance probably thinks this is a bad idea, but Vance also tried to strike Iran before. He banked on that at the RNC. He said these things before. Oh, we need to strike Iran. Iran is the first country that we have to worry about in regards to a nuclear threat. Vance is just a dumbass. He just runs with the wind. He's a leaf in the wind. So none of these guys are ideologically centered. None of them have any grounding. They don't have any balls. They don't have 2 feet to stand on with 10 toes on each foot. They all just are brushes in the wind, and they'll go with whatever the president says so they can stay in their positions, so they can make their money, so they can seize their donors, and so they could potentially be president in 2028. Those are not the people that I want in control of the country. Newsflash, shocker. So yeah, I'm going to attack him. Even if he may be against it, you're going to use the propaganda to this degree. At least be a little bit more neutral and go, look, we're trying to end the conflict in Iran. We're effectuating some of our goals. We're reaching some of our goals. It's going to be a matter of time until we get there. Be a little bit more vague. You're running with the Hasbara and the propaganda. That's not true. Again, you want to be morally consistent? Well, then talk about the West Bank, because JD Vance and Donald Trump have been repeatedly asked about the West Bank since October. And JD Vance says Israel is not going to annex the West Bank. That's going to continue to be our goal. Donald Trump says they're not going to do anything with the West Bank. Right now, as I'm speaking to you, an Israeli settler is probably burning down some village in the West Bank, or probably burning down some house.
Yep.
Like,
they're doing it.
They're not doing anything about it. So don't believe this moral consistency. This is bullshit. By the way, we just killed 3,000 people in this war. Innocent non-combatants. Oh, but that's a part of war, though. That's a part of war. A war for who? A war for Israel. We just killed 3,000 people for Israel. And you're going to talk about a moral high ground? You're going to talk about the IRGC hanging people? Shut the fuck up. Shut up, honestly.
I'm disappointed. Very, very, very disappointed at everyone in the world, because they have the audacity of saying that Iran is a problem, while clearly Israel is a problem to literally everyone. They kill whoever they want. They shoot whoever they want. They hang people whoever they want, and they have no consequences at all. And they make those laws legal. How is that not punishable? How are they not getting sanctions? There's nothing's going on, bro. This is unfucking forgettable. Every fucking piece of power, government in the world should be fucking ashamed. The fact that nobody's doing nothing about this. It's fucking unacceptable.
Ever cared about the IRGC? It has nothing to do with the United States. Nothing. Nothing. They don't have intercontinental missiles. They don't have a nuclear weapon. They weren't going to make one until we attacked them and gave them a better reason to make one.
I'm so fucking disappointed.
If Israel got if Iran got a nuclear weapon, they would just be in North Korea. They would just sit where they are and no one would bother them. I'm not saying I want them to have a nuke, but that's probably what they would do. They have their proxy network.
They continue these executions of people and have continue to do so for over a decade and a half now. And so I think what the president is expressing is the desire that he wishes the Iranian people had an ability to fight back against some of these things that are happening to them. And I would view that as distinct and separate.
Yeah, but it's up to them. It's not up to America to intervene and do dumb shit.
Before it concluded, and certainly different from the operation that's going on now. Right there in the
regarding Colombia, Mr. Secretary.
Right behind you, not Colombia, right there. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Secretary, thank you so much. On Lebanon, are we in a ceasefire or less fire? And the second question, do you think you would be able to achieve an agreement between Lebanon and Israel without risking a civil war in Lebanon? What are you doing what are you doing to...
No, I got it. I got the gist of your question. So look, here's the challenge with Lebanon, okay? There's no problem between the Lebanese government and the Israeli government. Israel doesn't claim any land in Lebanon belongs to them. And
that's such a lie, bro. That's such a fucking lie. They have claimed part of Lebanon. What you want about, you fucking retard?
By and large, I think
they have done it. Like, what? Fucking liar. You're such a liar, bro.
Israel is imminently achievable and should be. The problem with Israel and Lebanon is not Israel or Lebanon, it's Hezbollah. Hezbollah operates from inside of Lebanese territory. They terrorize and attack Israelis, but they also are inflicting tremendous damage on the Lebanese people. The reason why Lebanon gets attacked by Israel
They're defending
is
the
because
country.
of Hezbollah. Because Hezbollah is hiding in some house.
Apple Maps just removed every single name of the municipalities and villages in southern Lebanon, by the way.
Launching rockets against.
And you're saying they're not taking line, by the way. You are the bro. How is this guy in power? Americans, how is people like this in power? How? God, the American people are stupid, bro.
But no, just believe Marco.
Israelis, and then they get hit. So what you're seeing now is Israeli responses to either attacks or perceived threats. And this is not new. This has been.
No, that's not what's happening. What's happening is when they get an intelligence heads up of a Hezbollah official, a military commander, or somebody who's high ranking in Hezbollah, they carpet bomb the area. They don't care about who dies to kill that person because they want to rid southern Lebanon of any Iranian proxy influence so they can take it because they believe the land belongs to them. That's what they say. It's the same thing with the West Bank, and it's the same thing with Gaza. They want to ethnically cleanse these places. Charlie Kirk, the biggest Christian Zionist in the last decade, even said himself on Patrick Bet-David's podcast a few years ago, Israel is obviously trying to ethnically cleanse the Gaza Strip. You don't think they're trying to do the same thing in southern Lebanon? They've been bombing the shit out of it. And on the day of the ceasefire, April 7th, they bombed it 100 times in the morning and killed hundreds of people. Beirut in southern Lebanon. What's their goal? They want to annex it. They want to take it. They believe it is theirs.
Unacceptable.
Hello, from the Nile to the Euphrates, Old Testament, that's what they're following.
What is our hope? Our hope is to engage the Lebanese and Israeli governments under our mediation at the table to achieve this. And that is having Lebanese armed forces and a Lebanese government, not just with a willingness, but with the capability to begin to challenge Hezbollah and disarm them. Because the Lebanese people are also victims of Hezbollah. And by the way...
Oh my God, no, they're
not. They're not at all.
They
They're
parade
not at all.
Hezbollah.
They're not at all, bro. They literally praise Hezbollah because they're the ones that are actually defending their beliefs in the country.
Who's behind
like,
Hezbollah?
what?
Why do they exist? They're an agent of Iran. If you go through that Middle East and you identify every problem, Hamas, Hezbollah, to some extent the Houthis, obviously, and others, behind every one of these groups is Tehran. So,
yeah, but again, we do this all the time.
Yeah, but they're created because of Israel, because Israel keeps threatening everybody and killing people and doing dumb shit.
I mean, to make this class, why? Why do these proxies exist?
Israel.
Have you asked yourself that question?
Bro.
Why does Hezbollah exist? Well, it's because of the creation of Israel. You go back to the 80s, it's quite obvious. Why does Hamas exist? It's because of the creation of Israel. Everything stems from the Palestine question. The Palestinians were pushed out of their land. Colonialism,
illegally, by the way.
Apartheid state, whatever you want to say. The Palestinians were kicked from their homes. They were expelled. The Nakba, 700,000 people expelled from their homes. And so you had this grievance across the entire Middle East. All the Arab nations geared up against Israel. And that's what birthed all of these resistance groups. And to this day, Israel is violently aggressive against Palestinians in the West Bank or any sort of Palestinian occupied territory. And as a result, they breed resistance, which is why Hamas exists. Every single member of Hamas probably has a dead parent.
Oh, Jesus
That's
Christ.
not me defending Hamas or October 7th. That's not what I'm doing. What I am saying is that happened for a reason. You cannot just start the story in the middle because you'll be confused. You'll be uninformed.
I tried everything. Coffee, Pomodoro, and binaural
Shut
beats,
the fuck up.
Stuck.
I don't care.
That's just the facts. That's just the facts. Hamas is not innocent. They've done crazy things, but you have to be an idiot, an absolute dimwit, dense and hollow-headed to think that they just exist for the sole reason or purpose of terrorism and that's it. That's not it. That's not it. And we will never address the alleged issue if you continue to run with that lie. That stone-faced, one-sided lie. There's two sides to the coin. There's two sides to the coin there. And you have to address both if you want to actually understand what is happening in the Middle East. So, and what's the solution? It's a two-state or one-state solution. Give the Palestinians a right to self-determination. Gaza Strip is an open-air prison. They don't get anything. These people are barred from the world. Open it up. Give them maritime trade. Give them the ability of autonomy. It's a small strip.
Apart from the nuclear weapons, apart from all these other things, these guys are behind all the bad actors. Hezbollah is a wing. It's an extension of Iranian desire to destabilize the region. So we're very committed to this process.
They're not destabilizing. They're trying to stabilize it, actually.
You know this has been going on for a very long time. It's not going to be easy. We're going to do everything we can to make sure that both sides continue to talk so that progress can be made on some sort of permanent ceasefire that isn't constantly spoiled by Hezbollah and by Hezbollah violence.
Bro, Israel is the one creating the violence. What you want about?
Right in the middle. Thank you, sir. I'm winging it, guys, okay? Right there, yes, sir.
You mentioned the 2 U.S. ships that safely crossed the Strait of Hormuz. Are other ships being told it's safer to get back to regular levels, or are we still going to see limits in place for the foreseeable future?
For obvious reasons, I'm not going to broadcast who we're talking to or who we're telling them to move. I mean, we want these operations to be safe, and I think as it unfolds and ships get through, we'll make those announcements after the fact, just for operational security purposes. But the goal here is pretty simple. Establish a zone of transit that is protected by a bubble, the United States, both naval and air assets, and then allow ships who want to move through there and get to market, to begin to increase confidence in the ability to do so. That doesn't happen in 12 hours. It takes time to set up that bubble and gain that confidence, but that's the goal. We have been in touch. We've been in touch, I don't know, with a bunch of different liners about moving. And
Marco Rubio is kind of flirting with the idea that
Democrats expose Israel nukes. Wait, what? Wait, what? What? There's finally a document about exposing that Israel has nukes, illegal nukes. I think I'm not gonna talk about this. I'm just gonna do another update on the war because I don't have a lot of time anymore.
Program in Arsenal, according to the Washington D.C. based nuclear threat initiative. The Washington, am I muted? Okay, I thought I was muted. Sorry, guys. The White House has also long maintained ambiguity on the issue, despite a handful of.
Okay, I'm gonna start from
By the way, of course, you're only gonna find a story like this on Al Jazeera, because I haven't seen any other real mainstream media news outlets reports on this. It says, in rare push, U.S. lawmakers demand transparency on Israel nuclear capability. So
there you go, guys. Finally. Bro. Everybody knew that they had illegal nuclear program and they had nukes illegally. And finally there's a site, a document, something where people talk about it. Holy shit. It took so long and so many people knew that Israel stole the nuclear. Like Jesus Christ, bro. It took so long.
This is by Joseph Stepansky. A group of Democrats in the United States Congress have called on the State Department to break the U.S. government's long-standing silence on Israel's nuclear capability. In a letter sent to Secretary of State Marco Rubio, the Democrats pointed to the U.S.-Israel war on Iran as the reason more clarity is urgently needed. While Israel is believed to have possessed nuclear weapons since the 1960s, it maintains a policy of nuclear opacity, never officially confirming the existence of its nuclear weapons program and arsenal, according to the Washington, D.C. based nuclear threat initiative. The Washington, am I muted? Okay, I thought I was muted. Sorry, guys. The White House has also long maintained ambiguity on the issue, despite a handful of glancing admissions. In turn, lawmakers in Congress have rarely launched coordinated public efforts for greater transparency amid decades of bipartisan support for Israel. Congress has constitutional responsibility to be fully informed about the nuclear balance in the Middle East, the risk of escalation by any party to this conflict, and the administration's planning and contingencies for such scenarios. The letter signed by 30 members of Congress said, "We do not believe we have received that information. A policy of official ambiguity about the nuclear capabilities of one party to this conflict makes coherent non-proliferation policy in the Middle East impossible." The letter said, for Iran, for Saudi Arabia, and for every other state in the region, making decisions based on their perceptions of the capabilities of their neighbors. What does the letter ask for? I can go ahead and read the letter for you guys here real quick. This is
Holy
excerpts from the
shit,
letter. It
bro!
doesn't show the whole thing.
Finally, we
this
talk
is the full
about
thing
it.
here. So this
Holy
is Joaquin
shit, bro.
Castro. This is his X page, Texas congressman. He's a Democrat.
Holy.
And he's leading the charge with 30 other lawmakers, all being Democrats. And he says, for nearly 6 decades, the U.S. has voluntarily remained in the dark on Israel's nuclear capabilities. The ambiguity ends now.
Let's fucking go. Let's fucking go. Finally. We all knew this was that they stole it. We all knew that they had them. We all knew. But there's finally someone with power, someone in government, someone that publicly published documents and the truth. Holy
bro,
shit.
This is crazy.
This is fucking crazy, bro.
And
this is
no
fucking crazy,
about
bro.
this, except I think Nick mentioned this on his show the other day.
Holy shit. Holy shit. There's actual documents that prove they stole the nukes and they have nukes illegally. Holy shit.
Sorry,
finally.
Really this is big.
This is huge.
For several decades now, there has been no public acknowledgement of their nuclear program.
There's finally
and this is standard measure
something
by law and the IAEA for every single country that has nuclear capabilities, which are several, that they have to be transparent about what they're using the nukes for, where everything is located, the acknowledgement that they have the nukes, but they won't use them under a certain set of circumstances unless certain stipulations are met, all this stuff. And Israel is just completely outside of that. And they 100% have a nuclear program. You know, if you look back in the 60s and the 50s, you would know that they were racing towards a nuke with the help or the aid of the French. John F. Kennedy tried to stop that. And of course, John F. Kennedy was assassinated in November of 1963. So, and this is really the story here. I guess I'll explain this because this will make everything that I'm explaining here or showing you guys make a lot more sense. But the situation in the Middle East has always been very consistent. The inception of Israel happens in 1948. Every single Arab nation that neighbors Israel is absolutely angered and taken aback by the fact that the Nakba takes place, which is 750,000 Palestinians being expelled from their homes. These people have no place to go. And Israel pretty much, like, for all intents and purposes, is now this apartheid colonial state that stole the land from the Palestinians.
Holy fucking shit, bro.
So this is why we always talk about the fact that every single conflict or all of the issues that we see now in the Middle East stems from the question of Palestine. Because all of the Arab neighbors were upset at the fact that Israel became its own sovereign state in 1948. And there's several things that led to that in the early 1900s, but just for the sake of explaining this whole issue with the nuclear capabilities and Israel's nuclear program coming to light by these Democrats, I'll start there. So fast forward, I believe in 1952, there is a new leader in Egypt, and this guy is a pan-Arab nationalist, okay? And his name is Gamal Abdel Nasser. And his whole MO is Arabs are going to take back the Middle East. He's like this Arab top H, if that makes sense. Arabs are going to take back the Middle East. We are going to reclaim our sovereignty. We are not going to allow Israel to do whatever they want and bully every country in the region. We are anti-Western. We are pro-Arab. And he's a very powerful leader that captivates Egypt and wins the favorability of many Egyptians and Middle Eastern countries as a whole, because at this time, Egypt is quite strong. And so, of course, right away, when this guy takes power, and I believe 52, Israel is very concerned. Now, Israel and France, and there's so many more details in between, but just for the sake of simplicity here, Israel and France.
And France should be ashamed of helping this fucking shitty fucking country that is destroying everything that we've built so far by helping each other. And this piece of shit fucking country, France should be ashamed of what they're doing, what they've done. Pieces of shit. Oh, oops, wrong button. Wrong button.
Have parallel interests when this guy takes power. Why? Because he was supporting Algerian anti-colonialist groups in Algeria that was occupied by the French. Obviously, you know their conflict goes way back as well. And so this guy was supporting the Algerians and fighting the French. Again, he's this pro-Arab nationalist. He's this pan-Arab, you know, kind of like Ba'athist in a way.
They created a problem for everybody, bro.
But he wasn't like theocratic in many ways. He wasn't super religious. His whole thing was nationalism. His whole thing was this Arab union with Syria, which he eventually effectuated later on. But he comes into power and he poses a huge threat for Israel and France, that being Gamal Abdel Nasser, okay? Fast forward a little bit into later 1956, I believe it was, you have the Suez Canal crisis. And this is a turning point where Britain and France lose a lot of influence in the Middle East. The Suez Canal is a man-made passageway that separates North Africa and technically Asia on the Sinai, and it's about 120 miles long. And previously, Egypt did not have control of this man-made passageway, which was on their land effectively. And so for them, what they wanted to do was take control back under this very strong nationalistic leader. So he says, we're going to take back the Suez Canal. He makes his attempt of doing that. Israel, Britain, and France set up a plan to stop him in doing so. So
but it's in their
Israel
land.
invades.
Bro, it's in their land. Who are they to, like, what? Because it's just so stupid.
And they do this on purpose. Britain and France are behind them, saying, you go and invade the Sinai or the Suez Canal, try to take control of it, try to take the control back, and then we'll pretend to step in as the mediators. We will invoke, or we will really provoke the Egyptians and their aggression against us, and then we'll have an excuse to bomb them, maybe take out the leader, but really just reclaim control of the Suez Canal. So Israel invades, and militarily it's successful, right? They take control, if my memory serves me correctly. But Britain and France try to now get involved, and they try to police the situation, and they try to start attack Egypt. Right away, the president of the United States is not happy about this. And he says, upon seeing this plan immediately, that you guys must seize your operation because the Soviet Union is going to get involved, and this is going to be a regional mess, you know, maybe even World War III, if you will, because Egypt is a very strong nationalistic state. And obviously, if the Soviets, who have always been backing Egypt and these Arab nations historically, going all the way into the 70s and the Yom Kippur situation, if Egypt is attacked on the pretext of this colonialist Western power, well, then it's going to give all the reason for the Soviets to step in and try and stop the matter. And then we're going to have to get involved, and it's going to be like this political unaliving for all nations. So they have to pull out. The mission kind of fails. Egypt grasps control of the Suez Canal. This further kind of charges up Israel and France that are working to undermine the Egyptian leader at this time. And so Israel and France, and I'm not sure if I remember all of this correctly, but Israel and France now start working together in the Negev desert to build nuclear assets, essentially, you know, digging plutonium and all of this in order to achieve a nuclear weapon. And France offers that Israel offers that if France can give them a nuclear weapon, they'll continue to do their dirty work in the Middle East and deter Egypt so that they won't have issues in Algeria. That's really the crux of everything. So they become these strategic partners. And throughout this whole issue, no one is really privy to it. And it continues to go on in a strategic partnership.
It's
all the way
always
up
this
until
fucking Israel, bro. It's
1961.
always Israel.
And remember,
Fuck's sake.
prior to...
Bro. It's always them. Like, it's incredible that it's always them. It's fucking outrageous. How is it always them?
The president of the United States had condemned the attack in Suez Canal, or really the joint effort
It's
to take
so
control of the
dumb. It's
Egyptians
always
because he
fucking
didn't want to
them,
have to
bro.
get involved
Holy
with the
shit.
Soviets. But that's as far as his condemnation really went. The United States at this time was kind of loosely sided with the Arab nations as well as Israel as well. There wasn't this like cuck foreign policy that we see today. But you fast forward, and now you have a situation where, of course, in 1961, John F. Kennedy takes office. And right away, his first set of plans is to control Israel's nuclear plan, nuclear proliferation. He wants to stop them in their mission of attaining this nuclear bomb because he understands that Israel and these Arab nations do not share the smoothest relations. And so he knows that a nuclear war could happen at any time if Israel actually achieves their goal of being the only nuclear power in the region, or better yet, start bullying these Arab nations. So John F. Kennedy is seeing this like 5 steps ahead. He comes in office, and the first thing he does is he starts sending letters and demands to Israel in order to inspect their nuclear program. And this goes on for years. And as time passes, Kennedy is not really successful in getting Israel to concede or really capitulate with his plan of having these inspections take place. I think there were a few inspections in the early 60s. They really didn't go anywhere. But ultimately, he then gets the Prime Minister of Israel to finally kind of concede. A few inspections happen, but really, they're just like playing face. Nothing serious is really taking place. So John F. Kennedy becomes increasingly aggressive in his letters to Israel because he wants these inspections to take place so that they can actually not attain a nuclear bomb. He's trying to stop the problem before it takes place. He's trying to restore this neutrality in the region. He's also trying to restore diplomacy. And so he's doing the right thing here. And he's doing something that a lot of
he gets assassinated for
never
it.
had the whereabouts or really the guts to kind of do. Okay, then you move forward a little bit more. I believe it's in July of 1963, and we're fast forwarding through everything. There's a lot of details in between, but it's in July of 1963. John F. Kennedy sends his final letter to the Prime Minister of Israel. Who was it at that time? I can't remember. He sends the letter to the Prime Minister of Israel, and he says, this is an ultimatum. We are to inspect your nuclear program twice a year, as well as other stipulations that would likely halt Israel from ever being able to attain a nuclear weapon. And in Israel's response, the Prime Minister at the time steps down right away. And let me see what his name was. David Ben-Gurion is the current leader. He steps down after John F. Kennedy continuously threatens him. And then another leader, I believe his name was Eshko, kind of fills his position. John F. Kennedy gave the ultimatum to the Prime Minister of Israel, Ben-Gurion. He gets the letter, steps down the next day for no reason, doesn't even give a concise explanation as to why he's stepping down. He's succeeded by the next leader, Eshko, and when Eshko actually steps into office, he does the runaround. He has plausible deniability that he'll pick up everything where it was left off, but he's a new leader. He can't really like work with John F. Kennedy so closely yet, give him some time. And so he starts to send letters back, but he's really bullshitting. And then you're in July of 1963, John F. Kennedy is assassinated in November. So just a few months later, John F. Kennedy is completely out the picture. And pay attention, really consider all the facts that I'm telling you here. This is why people conspiracize that, of course, and I got to be careful because I'm on YouTube, John F. Kennedy was, of course, assassinated by you-know-who. Because right when he was on the cusp of getting them to concede in their nuclear program, he disappeared. This is the letter here. I can kind of read through some of this, but this is like so long, so I don't know if you guys are probably going to get bored out of your minds reading
Holy
this.
fucking
so
shit, bro.
Read this.
Actual fucking documents that prove that John F. Kennedy was actually right. Holy shit. They are the problem. They are the fucking problem. Bro, like, it's fucking incredible. Nobody knows this. I didn't know it. Now I know. Holy shit. Nobody knows about this. This proves that they have illegal nuclear program and they have illegal nukes. This literally proves it. Holy fucking shit.
Lawmakers raised questions about the ambiguous U.S. policy regarding Israel's nuclear capabilities while engaging in war alongside Israel against Iran, writing, "We are in fullest sense fighting this war side by side with a country whose potential nuclear weapons program the United States government officially refuses to acknowledge. American service members continue to be deployed throughout the region. Congress has a constitutional responsibility to be fully informed about the nuclear balance in the Middle East. The rise of escalation by any party to this conflict and the administration's planning and contingencies for such scenarios. We do not believe we have received that information." This is huge.
This is so huge. Oh, sorry,
I
hit the mic.
Concluded by demanding the U.S. apply its non-proliferation standards, equally writing, "We cannot develop coherent non-proliferation policy for the Middle East, including with respect to Iran's civil nuclear program and Saudi Arabia's civil nuclear ambitions, while maintaining a policy of official silence about the nuclear weapons capabilities of one party central to the ongoing conflict in which the United States is a direct participant. We ask that you hold Israel to the same standard of transparency that the United States expects from any other country that may be pursuing or retaining nuclear weapons capability." And then it shows all the 30 Democratic members who signed this, and this was sent to the Trump administration, I guess specifically Marco Rubio. I'm reading that here.
Holy shit.
So, I mean, you know,
it's been
proven
here,
I led
finally.
a group of 30 lawmakers to demand an end to the ambiguity. And this is the entire letter here. It mentions the JCPOA.
Holy shit. Prove it. Holy shit.
The Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. All this good stuff.
Holy fuck.
Not reading all this because we're going to get bored to death, but really think about the history
Holy
here.
shit, bro.
This is a big development in regards to the fact that, you know, if this is actually brought to light on a large scale and a lot of the American populace pays attention to the fact that Israel has an unacknowledged nuclear program, what does that mean for the exposing of their history and what they've been doing to undermine us and does this reignite the conversation of John F. Kennedy? We know the Trump administration released many files in regards to the CIA, and people found so many facts that they didn't know prior with the CIA and the OSS and their involvement in Italy and everything like that. But this is huge.
This is so
a
huge.
Big deal. So
this is so fucking huge. Holy shit! We end the stream with a huge fucking thing. This is huge. Actual people in government demanding to publish this fucking holy. Cannot believe this. Holy fucking shit. I don't have time anymore. I don't have more time to stream. Fuck. That is huge. That's fucking huge. Holy shit. Holy shit. Oh no, I didn't mean to do that. Fuck. That is holy shit. There might be a future. Might be a future in the world. Holy fucking shit, what I've just fucking heard and what I've seen. Official documents. Holy shit. Oh bro, holy. Well, I don't have any more time anymore, guys, so I'm sorry. I would have probably continued, but that's, bro, holy, I'm shocked that this might have happened. If it happens, bro, it's gonna change the whole course of history. It's gonna change everything. Fucking everything. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the stream. Again, don't forget to follow me on Kick. We're trying to reach 800 followers. Not only that, we're trying to get verified here on Kick, so don't forget to participate in the stream, like talk in the chat, watch the stream, drop a sub, so we're going to be one step closer towards our verification. We do stream at the same time on YouTube, so don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We're trying to reach 100 subs. We're currently at 87 subscribers, so I'd appreciate if you hit that subscribe button. We do post additional content on other social media, so go follow me everywhere and enjoy all the content. And big thank you for GoToWay for the affiliation. Hope you guys enjoyed the stream. Peace.